Chapter 2174. Boom. In an instant, the void cracked and several spatial vortexes appeared. Swish. Swish. Immediately after, a figure emerged from the vortexes. He waved the blood-red flying sword in his hand and slashed at Dao Yi. "It's you." Dao Yi's eyes widened in joy when he saw the cultivator that emerged from the void. Dao Yi was very excited. When Sun Xiong attacked Tai Yi Divine Sect, he had been looking for Ningyu. Unfortunately, he could not find him. Now that Ningyu appeared before him, how could he not be excited? Ha ha ha! Dao Yi threw his head back and laughed maniacally. "I've been searching high and low for him, only to find him by chance." Dao Yi did not think much of Ningyu. In his opinion, Ningyu was only an early-stage ancestral immortal, and was still a distance away from mid-stage ancestral immortal. One had to know that he was a peak ancestral immortal. Wouldn't it be easy for him to deal with an early-stage ancestral immortal like Ningyu? With a flick of his wrist, Dao Yi threw out a cold beam. Chi. The friction between the cold beam and the air produced a hissing sound. Retreat. Within the core hall, Zhao Rui and the Dark Emperor hurriedly shouted. They shared the same opinion as Dao Yi and did not think that Ningyu could win. "It's over." The Dark Emperor and Zhao Rui were dumbfounded when they saw that Ningyu was advancing instead of retreating. They could even imagine the tragic scene of Ningyu being killed. It's hard to say. Ning Lu's opinion was different from Zhao Rui and the others. As a world tree, Ning Lu had awakened many memories after advancing to the golden, immortal realm. Be it Ningyu's composure or the aura that Ningyu exuded, it did not seem like he would be defeated. Bang! At that moment, Ningyu and Dao Yi finally clashed. Gotcha! However, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. One move. Just one move. Ningyu pushed Dao Yi back dozens of feet. The sudden change caused the entire area to fall silent. "What's going on?" someone cried out in alarm. "Ningyu won." "It should be." Then, whoosh. In an instant, everyone shifted their gazes to Ningyu. The remaining disciples of Tai Yi Divine Sect knew that the key to breaking out of this predicament was to kill Dao Yi and the other ancestor Immortal Peak Stage traitor. As long as he could get rid of them, Sun Xiong would lose his claws and teeth. "This is impossible!" Dao Yi yelled in disbelief. "Idiot!" Ningyu couldn't be bothered to waste time with Dao Yi. He leaped out and injected the immortal qi in his body into the red demon sword. Under Dao Yi's shocked gaze, he slashed at his chest. Poochie! A crisp sound rang out. Dao Yi's chest was pierced by the red demon sword. Buzz! Dao Yi was at the pinnacle of the ancestor immortal realm, and he had quite a bit of energy within his body. Red Fiend naturally wouldn't waste such a good opportunity to devour. A berserk devouring power appeared, and it only took the Red Devil a few seconds to devour Dao Yi into a skeleton. Watching Dao Yi being devoured into a skeleton, the surrounding cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. "Run!" The other traitor, Hu Tu's eyes flickered as he made a decision. Run. He had to run as far as he could. Hu Tu didn't think of asking Sun Xiong for help because he knew that Sun Xiong was fighting 1 against 3. It was already good enough that he could suppress them. How could he spare any attention to save him? Against Ningyu, he had no chance of winning. Under such circumstances, escaping was the best chance. Trying to escape in front of me? Ningyu stomped on the ground and gave chase. Whoosh! Within the core hall, many disciples of Tai Yi Divine Sect rushed out and joined the battlefield. The 2 ancestor Immortal Peak Stage traitors were taken care of by Ningyu. They were more than capable of dealing with the remaining traitors. Rumble! These disciples of Tai Yi Divine Sect had been holding back for a long time. Now that they had a chance to fight, they were full of energy and even roared. Suppression. Absolute suppression. It was a one-sided situation. Gotcha! Ningyu didn't disappoint the Tai Yi Divine Sect disciples. In the blink of an eye, Hu Tu's neck was broken. I want to charge for middle ancestor immortal stage. Hong Mo's voice rang out in Ning Yu's ears, who too has more energy in his body. I can use him to charge for middle ancestor immortal stage. Back in the outer region battlefield, Hong Mo had already devoured 3 peak ancestor immortal stage sky demons and raised his cultivation to early ancestor immortal stage. Now that he had devoured Dao Yi, if he could devour Hu Tu as well, there was a high chance he could reach middle ancestor immortal stage. Charge my ass, leave Hu Tu to Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. Ning Yu slapped Hong Mo's head and said in an annoyed tone, You have advanced to early ancestor immortal stage, but the 2 of them are still at early golden immortal stage. Shua. Shua. Dark Emperor and Ning Lu seemed to understand. They immediately flew in front of Hu Tu and grinned at Hong Mo. Kid, you followed Ning Yu and ate the meat while the 2 of us ate the dirt. From now on, we eat the meat and you drink the soup. Hong Mo rolled his eyes. I'll give it to you, I'll give it all to you. Anyway, there are many traitors. Don't have any ideas about them. Go capture them and let Dark Emperor and Ning Lu devour them. Ning Yu kicked Hong Mo's butt and said. Ning Yu saw everything clearly. When he defeated Dao Yi and Hu Tu, Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were really envious. But while they were envious, they were also a little disappointed. How could Ning Yu not know what they were thinking? So, the captured people were all for Dark Emperor and Ning Lu to devour. After all, one was a purple gold heaven-swallowing dog and the other was a world tree. As long as they had enough energy and time, they would be able to advance quickly. After instructing them, Ning Yu's eyes turned towards the void. There was another battlefield in the void. Sun Yongxing, Lin Tu, and Zhou Wen joined forces to fight against Sun Xiong. But looking at the situation, Sun Xiong clearly had the upper hand. Suddenly, Ning Yu's heart stirred. He sensed a familiar aura from Sun Xiong's body. Di Wentian. This aura was extremely similar to Di Wentian, whom he had fought previously. Could it be that Sun Xiong also has a clone of Di Wentian? Ning Yu's expression turned serious. He had fought with Di Wentian's clone before, so he naturally knew how terrifying Di Wentian was. Previously, he had wasted an essence immortal nomological law to defeat Di Wentian's clone. If Sun Xiong really had a clone of Di Wentian on him, then everything would become serious. No. At this time, Ning Yu's eyes widened, and he revealed a relieved expression. The aura on Sun Xiong's body was completely different from the aura on Mo Yi's body. In other words, even if Sun Xiong had a clone of Di Wentian on him, his strength was not that strong. Otherwise, Di Wentian would have appeared long ago. Why would he wait until now? Turning his head to look at the constantly attacking Red Fiend, Ning Yu leaped up and rushed into the void. Who? Sun Xiong was originally fighting with Sun Yongxing and the others, and he had a significant lead. However, just as he was about to launch a super strong attack, a figure suddenly appeared in the void beside him. The person who will kill you. Chapter 2175. Crack. Ning Yu's punch was heavy and extremely powerful. In fact, in order to severely injure Sun Xiong in one move, Ning Yu wrapped the last remaining essence immortal nomological law in his fist. Oh no! Sun Xiong was not an indecisive person. When he realized that the fist that was coming towards him contained an essence immortal nomological law, he immediately chose to retreat. As he was not sure if Ning Yu was a true essence immortal, Sun Xiong's decision was exceptionally correct. Ning Yu, it's you? Why are you back? Sun Yongxing and Lin Tu's reaction when they saw Ning Yu was completely different from Sun Xiong's. They were surprised, puzzled and confused. They could not understand why Ning Yu would return. Sun Xiong was an essence immortal, not a half-baked martial artist. Even if Ning Yu had an essence immortal nomological law, it would be difficult for him to fight against Sun Xiong. Something's wrong. Lin Tu's expression changed as he stared at the essence immortal nomological law on Ning Yu's fist. He had seen Ning Yu's essence immortal nomological law before. If he was not wrong, the essence immortal nomological law that Ning Yu displayed in the dungeon of Skyfiend Castle was different from this one. Could it be, did Ning Yu refine another essence immortal nomological law? Bam! Under the shocked gazes of Lin Tu and the rest, Ning Yu's fist and Sun Xiong's fist collided. The two collided. The next moment, the two figures retreated hurriedly. Just from the distance they retreated, it was clear that both sides were evenly matched in this move. Gulp! Seeing that Ning Yu and Sun Xiong were evenly matched, Sun Yongxing and Lin Tu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. An early-stage ancestral immortal warrior could actually be evenly matched with an early-stage essence immortal warrior? Who would believe it if word got out? Damn it. Ning Yu's expression was extremely ugly as he cursed silently. Sun Xiong's strength was not particularly strong. If he had two more essence immortal nomological laws, he could have defeated Sun Xiong with that move. But there was no medicine for regret in the world. When he fought with Di Wentian's clone, he lost a primordial immortal law. This was something that could not be changed. Voila! At this moment, an afterimage suddenly shot out from Sun Xiong's body. Di Wentian. The owner of this shadow was none other than Di Wentian. To be more accurate, it was a clone of Di Wentian. Why are you everywhere? Di Wentian stared at Ning Yu with some astonishment in his eyes. What a lingering spirit! Ha ha ha! Staring at the clone of Di Wentian, Ning Yu suddenly inclined his head and laughed. There was no other reason. This clone was simply too weak. Even without using his essence immortal laws, Ning Yu was absolutely confident that he could defeat Di Wentian. Very well, I'll remember you. Di Wentian nodded his head lightly. After that, he tore apart the void with both his hands and dove in. Di Wentian knew his own limit. The clone he left on Mo Yi's body was indeed very strong. It could even go against an early-stage primordial immortal. But the clone he left on Sun Xiong's body was to control him. Hence, its strength was not particularly strong. Stay. That was no different from courting death. Di Wentian's first thought was to retreat. He did not want to stay and fight to the death with Ning Yu. Want to leave? Not so easy. Ning Yu's lips curled up. This was a good opportunity to capture Di Wentian's clone. How could he let it go? Swoosh. Turning into an afterimage, Ning Yu dove into the void as well. Seeing Ning Yu and Di Wentian's clones vanish at the same time, Sun Xiong and Sun Yongxing looked at each other in confusion. Go! Although they were confused, they did not stop. The battle erupted once again. Because of the sudden change, Sun Xiong's upper hand was now on the back foot. If this continued, Sun Xiong would be defeated in a few hours. Rumble! At the same time, in the void, Ning Yu had already caught up to Di Wentian. What do you want? Di Wentian knew his limits. He knew that it would be hard for him to escape now that he was targeted by Ning Yu. After all, Ning Yu had a virtual immortal law on him. Di Wentian's clone was only a half-step virtual immortal. Of course I want to kill you. What else can I do? Ning Yu shrugged and said indifferently, You caused me to lose an essence immortal law. Do you think I'll spare your life? Not necessarily. Di Wentian regained his composure. As long as you let me go, I can give you plenty of benefits. What benefits? Ning Yu stared at Di Wentian with interest as he asked. Sun Xiong. Di Wentian pointed at Sun Xiong, who was fighting with Sun Yongxing and Sun Yongxing. I have Sun Xiong under my control. As long as you let me go, I will hand over control of Sun Xiong to you. Hearing this, Ning Yu's brows twitched. Giving control of Sun Xiong sounded like a good deal. But Ning Yu was no fool. How could there be such a good deal in the world? Since Di Wentian was willing to give up on Sun Xiong, it meant that this clone of his was far more valuable than an early-stage virtual immortal Sun Xiong. At the thought of this, Ning Yu said calmly, Hand over control of Sun Xiong to me first. We can talk about the rest later. Do you think I'm a fool? Di Wentian pointed at his nose and said coldly, "Let me go and I will hand over control of Sun Xiong to you. Otherwise, we will go our separate ways." "That's right. I always thought you were a fool." Ningyu stomped on the ground and dashed out. Against Di Wentian, even if it was just a clone, Ningyu did not dare to be careless. Damn it! Di Wentian could not help but curse as he looked at Ningyu charging towards him. Forget it. Giving up on a clone is nothing. Gritting his teeth, Di Wentian reached into his robes and took out a storage ring. Crack! He exerted some force in his palm and the storage ring shattered on the spot. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 beams of cold light shot out from the storage ring. The Skyfiend's heart. Ningyu's attention was completely drawn to one of the beams of light. Because it was the Skyfiend's heart. Moreover, this Skyfiend's heart was the parietal bone of a peerless immortal. In fact, it was even more terrifying than the one Ningyu had obtained from MOC. No wonder Di Wentian was unwilling to give up on this clone. Ningyu immediately understood. This was clearly Di Wentian's primary clone. It was weaker because it was in the process of refining the Skyfiend's heart. Once the Skyfiend's heart was refined, Di Wentian's clone's strength would very likely reach mid-stage virtual immortal. After all, it was the parietal bone of a peerless immortal. Hong Mo. Ningyu was not a rigid person. He made a prompt decision and summoned the Red Fiend. Steal the Skyfiend's heart. There was only one thought in Ningyu's mind, and that was to steal Di Wentian's Skyfiend's heart. In front of the core hall, Hong Mo killed an ancestral immortal traitor with a single slash, then tore through the void and appeared before Ningyu. "Let's go." Ningyu gripped the red demon's sword and shouted, "We must steal the Skyfiend's heart no matter what." Humph. However, Ningyu had just moved when Di Wentian blocked his path. Since he had decided to sacrifice his clone to protect the Skyfiend's heart, Di Wentian was already prepared. Wung Wung. Chapter 2176. Humph. It won't be that easy to self-destruct in front of me. Seeing that Di Wentian's body was expanding rapidly, Ningyu snorted coldly and threw the red demon's sword in his hand. "I'll block Di Wentian, you go snatch the heavenly demon's heart." Swoosh. The red demon did not waste any time and immediately chased after Di Wentian. "I'll let you have a taste of the power of an essence, immortal's nomological laws." Ningyu leaped out and punched towards Di Wentian's head with a fist that was filled with violent waves of immortal chi. At the same time, in order to defeat Di Wentian in one move, Ningyu even summoned the nomological laws of an essence immortal and wrapped them around his fist. Crack! In the blink of an eye, Ningyu's fist and Di Wentian's head collided intimately. A crisp sound was heard. Although Di Wentian's head was not smashed, his swollen body was shrinking rapidly. "You're courting death." Di Wentian was concerned about the heavenly demon's heart and did not want to be entangled with Ningyu. He cursed under his breath and tore through the void, choosing to chase after the red demon. The heavenly demon's heart was of utmost importance. If abandoning this clone could ensure the safety of the heavenly demon's heart, Di Wentian would do so without hesitation. However, even if he abandoned his clone, he would not be able to stop the red demon. The only thing he could do now was to chase after the red demon with all his might and buy some time for the heavenly demon's heart to escape. However, how could Ningyu give Di Wentian a chance? Di Wentian had just torn through the void, but before he could enter, Ningyu chased after him with the nomological laws of an essence immortal. Boom! As most of Di Wentian's attention was on the red demon and the heavenly demon's heart, Ningyu seized the opportunity and punched him in the chest. A dull sound was heard. Ningyu's fist drilled through Di Wentian's back. With his chest pierced, Di Wentian knew that he had lost completely. Not only was the heavenly demon's heart going to be snatched away, but his clone was also going to be killed. "You have completely infuriated me. I will let you know." Poochie. Di Wentian coldly stared at Ningyu, wanting to say something ruthless. But before the sound of his voice faded, he coughed out a mouthful of blood as his body slumped to the ground. At this moment, this clone of Di Wentian died tragically on the spot. Xiao. After dealing with Di Wentian's clone, Ningyu didn't hesitate in the slightest as he immediately dove into the void. Voila! In the void, the red demon held the red demon sword and was facing off against the heart of the heavenly demon. Although the Sky Devil heart was no longer under Di Wentian's control, it was still extremely hard to control. It would be very difficult for the Red Fiend to control it alone. However, although he could not control the heavenly demon's heart, the red demon used the red demon's sword to steadily stall the heavenly demon's heart, buying time for Ningyu. Whoosh! With a flash, Ningyu quickly appeared in front of the Red Fiend. Looking at the heavenly demon's heart in front of him, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "Put it in the red demon's sword. Are you confident in controlling it?" The heavenly demon's heart was very precious, and Ningyu did not want to put it in the Times Square pagoda. After all, relatively speaking, the red demon's sword was his personal item. As for the Times Square pagoda, he still had not figured out what level of magic treasure it was. No problem. The red demon nodded and said, "The red demon's sword is now an ancestral treasure. Although I can't refine this heavenly demon's heart, I'm still very confident in controlling it." That's good. Ningyu grabbed the red demon's sword and rushed out. Whoosh whoosh. He swung the red demon's sword in his hand repeatedly, and several sword rays shot out from the red demon's sword, surrounding the heavenly demon's heart from all directions. Ka. It was just as Ningyu had guessed. The heavenly demon's heart was very difficult to control. Facing the sword rays that came from all directions, a terrifying shockwave spread out from the heavenly demon's heart. In just a second, it repelled the sword rays. This is my chance. The heavenly demon's heart's heroic performance did not worry Ningyu. Instead, Ningyu was overjoyed. This was the effect that Ningyu wanted. The heavenly demon's heart's attention was completely focused on the sword rays, so it ignored him. Crack! With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu tore through the void and dived in. In the blink of an eye, Ningyu appeared in front of the heavenly demon's heart. The virtual immortal nomological laws in his hand pressed down and enveloped the heavenly demon's heart. Then, Ningyu opened the red demon's sword. Before the heavenly demon's heart could react, he had stowed the heavenly demon's heart into the sword. Good. After storing the heavenly demon's heart, Ningyu could not help but exclaim, "With this heavenly demon's heart, I might even be able to understand the virtual immortal nomological laws." The peerless immortal heavenly demon parietal bone contained the power of the heavenly Tao. By studying it, there was a high chance that one could understand the virtual immortal nomological laws. By the way, where's the other ray of cold light? I remember Di Wentian saying that it was used to control Sun Xiong. Ningyu seemed to recall something and hurriedly asked. Here it is. The red demon took out a crystal ball. I've checked. This crystal ball is connected to Sun Xiong. If you crush it, Sun Xiong will die immediately. Very well. Let's go back. Ningyu took the crystal ball and rushed back to the Tai Divine sect in a flash. Before long, Ningyu and the red demon returned to the Tai Divine sect. In the sky above the Tai Divine sect, Sun Xiong was fighting 1 against 3 and was at a complete disadvantage. Sun Xiong clearly had no desire to continue fighting. Sun Xiong knew very well that his fate was completely in Di Wentian's hands. If Di Wentian lost, he would most likely suffer. Therefore, as he fought Sun Yongxing and the others, he thought about what might happen on the other side. At that moment, whoosh whoosh, 2 figures tore through the void and appeared in front of him. It's you guys. Sun Xiong's expression changed. He hurriedly forced Sun Yongxing and the others to retreat. Where's Di Wentian? Submit. Ningyu didn't answer Sun Xiong's question. He took out the crystal ball and said calmly, or die. Boom. Looking at the crystal ball in Ningyu's hand, Sun Xiong's mind exploded. What he feared had come true. What he was most worried about was Di Wentian's defeat and him falling into the hands of Ningyu. Now, the situation was very clear. Since the crystal ball was in Ningyu's hands, it meant that Di Wentian had already been defeated or even killed. How is this possible? How is this possible? Sun Xiong's eyes dimmed as he kept repeating the word, impossible. Sun Xiong knew how terrifying Di Wentian was. Even if Di Wentian was only a clone, he shouldn't have been defeated so quickly. My patience is limited. Ningyu's expression turned cold. I'll ask you one last time. Submit or die. At the side, Sun Yongxing, Lin Tu, and Zhou Wen were all stunned. They couldn't understand what was going on. A crystal ball was enough to make Sun Xiong submit? Fine. Sun Xiong's expression was gloomy. He pondered for a moment before gritting his teeth. I choose to submit to you. However, I have a condition. You cannot. A prisoner is not qualified to negotiate with me. Chapter 2177. Swoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, Sun Xiong's face paled. He knew that he had no freedom from now on. Given Ningyu's personality, he would most likely suffer. However, for the sake of survival, Sun Xiong chose to compromise. I am willing to submit. Very well. Ningyu nodded and tossed the crystal ball to the Red Fiend. Help the sect master and the others deal with the aftermath. Call me when you're ready to leave. Swoosh. With that, Ningyu disappeared with the Red Fiend. Looking at Ningyu's departing figure, the Red Devil rolled his eyes. He knew what Ningyu was going to do. Study the Skyfiend's heart. The skull of a peerless immortal Skyfiend was extremely rare. Ningyu had fought Di Wentian twice, with one draw and one win. Ningyu had the upper hand overall, but both times, Ningyu had faced Di Wentian's clones. With Ningyu's current strength, death was the only way out for him against Di Wentian's real body. Therefore, Ningyu had to find a way to refine the Skyfiend's heart as soon as possible and do everything he could to increase his strength. Crack! The Red Fiend was right. Ningyu immediately found a secluded place and chose to refine the heart. The first thing he took out was the skull of a peak virtual immortal Skyfiend. Ningyu was only an early-stage ancestral immortal. It was risky to refine the skull of a peerless immortal Skyfiend. Buzz buzz. His soul power surged out and wrapped around the heart without reservation. However, even though Ningyu used all his soul power, he still couldn't enter the heart. Could only move around on the surface. Let's try it. Ningyu retracted his soul power and took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool. Crack! He exerted strength in his palm and slammed it at the heart. There was a cracking sound. A tiny crack appeared in the middle of the sky demon heart. There's hope. Ningyu's face lit up, and he once again swung the leftover materials from the lightning pool towards the heavenly demon's heart. Ka 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 ka. As Ningyu kept waving his arms, more and more cracks appeared on the heavenly demon's heart. An hour passed. Kacha. Following a crisp cracking sound, the heavenly demon's heart cracked open. Demonic crystal stone. Ningyu's eyes widened when he saw a crystal the size of a fingernail appear inside the heavenly demon's heart. His face was filled with disbelief. The so-called demonic crystal stone was a special kind of crystal stone that was compressed from energy. Relatively speaking, every time a heavenly demon crystal stone appeared, it would become the focus of many heavenly demons. According to Ningyu's observation, this heavenly demon crystal, which was the size of a fingernail, could easily allow a peak ancestral immortal heavenly demon to advance to the essence immortal level. Not only was this heavenly demon crystal filled with energy, but it also contained 3 essence immortal laws. No wonder the Fiend Lord tried so hard to get his hands on it. Recalling the Fiend Lord's performance in the heavenly demon castle, Ningyu's lips curled up slightly. Unfortunately, it benefited me in the end. Refine it. Ningyu did not waste any time. He grabbed the heavenly demon crystal and threw it into his mouth. Kacha. The heavenly demon crystal shattered and terrifying energy flowed down his throat into Ning Yu's abdomen. Under the guidance of the mental cultivation method, the energy continued to circulate through his body. Of course, the energy was not Ning Yu's focus. Ning Yu's entire focus was on the three essence immortal laws. Originally, the energy could allow Ning Yu to advance to the mid-stage ancestral immortal or even the late-stage ancestral immortal. However, Ning Yu was not foolish enough to refine the energy. That was because the energy was of great use to him. Using the energy, there was a high chance that he could refine all three essence immortal laws. Compared to advancing to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, refining the three essence immortal laws was clearly the most important thing. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Ning Yu closed his eyes and cast away all the distracting thoughts in his mind. He began to focus on refining the essence immortal laws. Ning Yu was extremely clear. Once he could refine the three essence immortal laws, his overall strength would increase by several times. Drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Over at Tai Divine Sect, Sun Xiong knelt on the ground, shivering. In front of him, a gigantic stone tablet stood. Behind the stone tablet was a gigantic tomb, a cenotaph. Many of the Tai Divine Sect disciples who died in battle were turned to ashes and nothing was left. It was only right to erect a tomb and a tombstone for them. Sun Xiong, you should feel very lucky. Sun Yongxing glared at Sun Xiong coldly and said fiercely, if not for Ning Yu controlling you, you would have killed him long ago. Sun Yongxing wanted to kill Sun Xiong, and so did many of the Tai Divine Sect disciples. However, they understood that Sun Xiong was already under Ning Yu's control. If they killed Sun Xiong, it would be equivalent to going against Ning Yu. After all, it was not easy to have a essence immortal as a slave. Lucky? Ah! The corners of Sun Xiong's mouth curled up, and he immediately threw his head back and laughed maniacally. I want to die. Why don't you kill me if you don't like it? Ka ka ka. Hearing Sun Xiong's arrogant words, the entire Tai Divine Sect could not help but clench their fists. They hated him so much that their teeth itched. However, there was nothing they could do. You bunch of trash, let me tell you the truth. As long as you are strong enough, you can also do whatever you want like me. Sun Xiong sneered. I'm now Ning Yu's slave. If Ning Yu wants me to be his vanguard and do some things for him, he will definitely not kill me. Kill him! Kill him and avenge our dead disciples. Kill that old fart, Sun Xiong. I can't take it anymore. Sun Xiong must die today. The remaining disciples of the Tai Divine Sect were agitated. Sun Yongxing stood on the spot with a gloomy expression. He glanced at the Red Fiend and the Dark Emperor on the other side and fell into a dilemma. Without the Red Fiend and the others saying anything, he could not kill Sun Xiong. No matter what, Sun Xiong was captured by Ning Yu. If he killed Sun Xiong, who was going to explain it to Ning Yu? Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying aura soared into the sky from afar. It's the essence immortal laws. Sun Yongxing's expression changed slightly when he sensed the three auras contained in the aura. These three essence immortal laws were very special, and there seemed to be a trace of the aura of a heavenly demon. Could it be that the heavenly demons are attacking? At the thought of this, Sun Yongxing's expression turned extremely ugly. The Tai Divine Sect had just experienced a huge battle. If another essence immortal level heavenly demon came, the situation would become extremely dangerous. It's Ning Yu. The Red Fiend and the Dark Emperor saw things more clearly. Even though there was the aura of a heavenly demon, they still discovered that the owner was Ning Yu. Swoosh! Then, a terrifying aura rushed over from afar and landed in front of the huge stone tablet. It really is Ning Yu. Sun Yongxing's eyes widened in shock when he saw the thin figure in front of him. Chapter 2178. You seem very confident. Ning Yu looked at Sun Xiong and said faintly. Swish. Sun Xiong's heart skipped a beat when he saw Ningyu appear. He could still be arrogant in front of Sun Yongxing and the others. After all, he knew that Sun Yongxing and the others would not dare to kill him. However, in front of Ningyu, he could only pretend to be weak. Who was Ningyu? He killed without batting an eye. Not at all. Sun Xiong laughed dryly and said, I was joking with them. Actually, I am also responsible for the deaths of these Tai E Divine Sect disciples. I am willing to avenge them. No need, they will avenge themselves. Ningyu waved his hand and turned to the remaining Tai E Divine Sect disciples. I will hand Sun Xiong over to you. Whether you kill him or not is up to you. Whoosh! Ningyu's words caused the entire area to boil with excitement. The surviving disciples of the Tai E Divine Sect expressed their gratitude to Ningyu. Obviously, killing Sun Xiong was all of their wishes. Swish! Stepping forward, everyone charged toward Sun Xiong. You can't kill me, I am an essence immortal, I can. Sun Xiong was shocked and hurriedly said as he looked at the disciples approaching him. However, Sun Xiong had committed a heinous crime. How could he be forgiven by everyone? In the blink of an eye, the disciples pounced in front of Sun Xiong. Bang! Stab! Crack! Punches, kicks, sabers and swords were all used to deal with Sun Xiong. Sun Xiong did not dare to resist, because Sun Xiong knew that if he resisted, what awaited him would be death. The crystal ball was with the Red Fiend. As long as the Red Fiend crushed the crystal ball, he would immediately disappear. I will fight it out with you. However, after being tortured for half an hour, Sun Xiong finally could not take it anymore. He released his aura and was about to explode. Crack! The Red Fiend had been paying attention to Sun Xiong's actions. As soon as Sun Xiong released his aura, he crushed the crystal ball. The shattering of the crystal ball meant that Sun Xiong died on the spot. Crack, crack, crack. It could be seen that the disciples of the Tai E Divine Sect really hated Sun Xiong. Even though Sun Xiong was dead, they did not let go of his corpse. Chop him into 8 pieces. Sun Xiong's corpse was chopped into pieces. If it wasn't for the fear of arousing Ningyu's disgust, Sun Xiong would have definitely been sliced into pieces. When will we go to the headquarters of the Kuan Su Alliance? After refining 3 essence immortal nomological laws, Ningyu did not care about Sun Xiong's death. When he only had 1 essence immortal nomological law, Ningyu's overall combat strength could kill a half-step essence immortal and slightly match an early-stage essence immortal. But now Ningyu had a total of 4 essence immortal nomological laws. With 4 essence immortal laws, Ningyu had the ability to fight against a mid-stage essence immortal. We leave in half an hour, Sun Yongxing quickly said. Although Sun Yongxing was the sect master of the Tai E Divine Sect, and Ningyu was a disciple of the Tai E Divine Sect. However, in this world, the strong were respected. The terrifying power that Ningyu displayed made his heart tremble. Moreover, Sun Yongxing had investigated and found out that Ningyu did not want to join the Tai E Divine Sect. He came to find Zhao Rui and rescue his friends. Therefore, Sun Yongxing did not treat Ningyu as a disciple of the Tai E Divine Sect. Now that Ningyu wanted to go to the headquarters of the Kuan Su Alliance with him, he couldn't ask for more. Drip, drip. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. After arranging everything, Sun Yongxing took out a palm-sized boat from his arms. He injected the immortal qi in his body into the boat and it instantly grew bigger. Swoosh, swoosh. Next, Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, Ninglu, the Hong Fiend, Zhao Rui, Sun Yongxing, Lin Tu, and Zhou Wen jumped onto the boat. As for Zhao Rui's sister Zhao Xian and Nangong Ling of the Nangong family, they stayed in the Tai E Divine Sect. The Tai E Divine Sect needed to be rebuilt, and it was not safe without an ancestral immortal. Sit tight. Sun Yongxing sat at the bow and drove the huge warship toward the headquarters of the Kuan Su Alliance. It would take dozens of days to get from the Tai-E Divine Sect to the headquarters of the Kuan-Su Alliance, even on a huge warship. On the way, Ningyu did not waste any time. Although he had refined 3 essence immortal nomological laws, his cultivation level was only at the early stage ancestral immortal. It just so happened that Ningyu could take advantage of the time from the Tai-E Divine Sect to the headquarters of the Kuan-Su Alliance to cultivate hard and strive to break through to the mid-stage ancestral immortal. He really doesn't waste any cultivation time. On the huge warship, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu rolled their eyes when they saw Ningyu cultivating hard. They took out an ancestral crystal from their storage ring and began to devour it. Zhao Rui originally wanted to return the storage ring to Ningyu. After all, Ningyu's parents and a few other friends were in the storage ring. For example, the sharp-mouthed Shadow Mouse and the old man who handed the Times Square pagoda to Ningyu. However, the Dark Emperor was the first to take the storage ring. Since the Dark Emperor and Ningyu were on good terms, Zhao Rui did not stop the Dark Emperor from taking the storage ring. Not everyone in the Tai-E Divine Sect suffered heavy losses in the war. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were the victors of the war. They made a fortune from the war. Before the war broke out, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were only early-stage Golden Immortal. But now, both of their cultivation levels had reached the peak Golden Immortal. They were only a step away from the Ancestral Immortal level. Why are all of Ningyu's friends freaks? Zhao Rui looked at the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, then at the Red Fiend, and could not help but mutter. She had gone through a lot of trouble to advance from the peak Golden Immortal to the early stage Ancestral Immortal. However, Ningyu's friends, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, had advanced to the peak Golden Immortal in the blink of an eye. The Red Fiend was even more exaggerated. If she guessed correctly, the Red Fiend's cultivation level should have reached the terrifying early-stage Ancestral Immortal. Moreover, for some reason, she felt that the Red Fiend was very terrifying. Even if she attacked with all her might, she might not be a match for the Red Fiend. Could Zhou Tong's guess be right? Ningyu's talent is comparable to hers? Zhou Wen shifted her gaze towards Ningyu and fell into deep thought. She remembered it clearly. Back in the Sky Fiend Castle, Zhou Tong had said that Ningyu's talent was terrifying and even stronger than hers. At that time, Zhou Wen did not think much of it. But now, it seemed that Zhou Tong was right. Even if she was a half-step essence immortal, and had refined an essence immortal nomological law, she did not have any confidence of winning against Ningyu. At that moment, everyone's attention was on Ningyu, who was devouring energy and fully focused on breaking through to the mid-stage Ancestral Immortal. The Kuan-Su Alliance was definitely dangerous. Every increase in cultivation level was a good omen for the trip to the Kuan-Su Alliance's headquarters. Even though the Tai-E Divine Sect had an essence immortal expert like Sun Yongxing, they were ranked last in the entire Kuan-Su Alliance. In other words, there were many powerful sects in the Kuan-Su Alliance. In those sects, there were even mid-stage essence immortals and late-stage essence immortals. Chapter 2179. The Kuan-Su Alliance was made up of many upper-class territories. The headquarters of the Kuan-Su Alliance was located in a city called Tianxing City. Tianxing City was extremely large. The 4 city walls towered into the clouds, like a giant dragon lying down. Splash! At this moment, in an area not far from Tianxing City, the void suddenly split open, and a huge warship emerged. Tianxing City had a clear rule that special transportation was restricted in the city, and violators would be beheaded immediately. Getting off the warship, Ningyu looked over the entire Tianxing City. The magnificent outline of the city walls shocked Ningyu. The reason why Ningyu was shocked was not that the city walls were very large, but because the construction method of these walls was special. After entering the city, Ningyu and the others didn't go to the headquarters of the Kuan-Su Alliance immediately, but found a random restaurant to stay. In fact, when they were still some distance away from Tianxing City, Sun Yongxing had already found a way to contact Mo Hui. Knowing that they were coming, Mo Hui hurriedly told them not to go to the headquarters of the Kuan Su Alliance, but to find a restaurant to stay first and wait for him. Although puzzled, Ning Yu and the others still chose to do as they were told. Why isn't he here yet? In the restaurant, Ning Yu and the others waited from morning to evening, but Mo Hui still didn't show up. I'll try again. Sun Yongxing took out a crystal ball from his pocket and said into it, Mo Hui, where are you? Why aren't you here yet? We'll wait for you at the Shuiyu restaurant. Mo Hui was one of the most outstanding saints of the Tai divine sect, so it was natural that he had some special crystal balls with him. However, in a secret room in Tianxing City, crack, one of the crystal balls suddenly shattered. Haha, aren't you very stubborn? Unfortunately, even if you are, we can still find out where the people of the Tai divine sect are. There were a total of 5 martial artists in the room. One of the martial artists had his hands and feet tied up, and his whole body was badly mutilated. There was even a long scar on his forehead. Mo Hui. If Ning Yu and Sun Yongxing were here, they would definitely find that this badly mutilated martial artist was none other than Mo Hui. Pooh! Mo Hui spat out a mouthful of blood with great difficulty and said angrily, I've already informed the sect leader and the others to move. Don't even think about succeeding. Ah! The other 4 martial artists acted as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. They first raised their heads and laughed wildly, then changed the topic and said fiercely, That old fart Sun Yongxing won 100 million ancestor crystals and 100,000 origin crystals from our god exterminating sect in the last brilliant void meeting. Our sect master said that we must take his head. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the Kuan Su Alliance? Mo Hui said coldly. Sanction? The gray-robed warrior smirked and said with a sinister smile, Since ancient times, the strong have always been respected. Our sect master has already advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm. Even if the Kuan Su Alliance finds out about this, they would have to think twice. Whoosh! Hearing this, Mo Hui's heart sank to the bottom. He knew what a mid-stage virtual immortal meant. In the Kuan Su Alliance, all the territories and sects where the strongest cultivators were only early-stage essence immortals were cannon fodder. Only when the strongest cultivators advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm could they stand tall in the Kuan Su Alliance. Not long ago, he came to Tianxing City and wanted to meet some people from the headquarters of the Kuan Su Alliance. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not enter the headquarters. Because his cultivation level was only at the peak ancestor immortal realm and he did not have a token, he was not even qualified to enter the headquarters. However, the Heavenly Fiend's attack on the Kuan Su Alliance was of great importance. He had to inform the headquarters. Otherwise, when the Heavenly Fiend army attacked, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, after Mo Hui waited outside the headquarters for a few days, not only did the headquarters not receive him, but he also met 4 elders of the God Exterminating Sect. Among the 4 elders of the God Exterminating Sect, 2 were half-step Essence Immortals, and the other 2 were Essence Immortals. Coincidentally, Sun Yongxing contacted Mo Hui through the crystal ball. Therefore, Mo Hui immediately sent a message to Sun Yongxing and the others to stay in a restaurant instead of going to the headquarters. Who would have thought, as soon as the message was sent, Mo Hui was brought to this secluded room by the people of the God Exterminating Sect and tortured in order to get information about Sun Yongxing. Let's go to the Water Moon restaurant. I have to settle the score with Sun Yongxing for what happened at the Kuan Su meeting a few years ago. The gray-robed martial artist waved his hand and rushed to the Water Moon restaurant with Mo Hui. Sha sha. Before long, the gray-robed martial artist and the others arrived at the Water Moon restaurant. If you don't want Mo Hui to die, get out of here as soon as possible. In the restaurant, Sun Yongxing and the others were still waiting anxiously. Suddenly, an arrogant voice sounded in their ears. Mo Hui is down there. Sun Yongxing released his senses and sensed Mo Hui outside the restaurant. His expression changed immediately. He could clearly see that Mo Hui was severely injured. Sun Yongxing shifted his gaze to Ningyu. He did not leave the room immediately. Instead, he was asking for Ningyu's opinion. Why are you looking at me? Go down and take a look. Ningyu rolled his eyes. He tore through the void and flew straight to the front of the Water Moon restaurant. Sun Yongxing, Lin Tu, Zhou Wen, and Zhao Rui followed closely behind Ningyu. As the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were only at the peak of the Golden Immortal Realm, Ningyu allowed them to temporarily enter the storage ring to cultivate. They could only come out when they advanced to the ancestral Immortal Realm. You're finally willing to come out? The gray-robed martial artist raised his eyebrows when he saw the many martial artists that suddenly appeared. His gaze finally landed on Sun Yongxing. It's you guys. Sun Yongxing's expression changed slightly when he saw the gray-robed martial artist and the others. He knew these people. A few years ago, they were the elders that followed the sect leader of the god-destroying sect. Their cultivation levels were only at the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. But after all these years, Sun Yongxing did not expect their cultivation levels to improve so much. 2 half-step essence immortals and 2 essence immortals. Even his heart trembled when he saw such a terrifying lineup. Our sect leader said that a few years ago, you used a scheme to win 100 million ancestor crystals and 100,000 essence crystals from him. Now, he wants one of your arms and one of your legs. The gray-robed martial artist kicked Mo Hui and said indifferently, as long as you hand over one of your arms and one of your legs, the grudge between the Tai Yi Divine Sect and the God-Destroying Sect will be settled. What's going on? Ningyu frowned slightly and turned to ask Lin Tuesday. Lin Tu explained to Ningyu in a low voice, his face full of anger. After hearing Lin Tu's explanation, Ningyu instantly understood. Every once in a while, the Koan-Su Alliance would gather many alliance members for a gathering. Since it was a gathering, there were naturally many activities. One of the activities was for both sides to learn from each other. In the process of learning from each other, there would inevitably be some prizes. Back then, the sect leader of the God-Destroying Sect was weaker and lost to Sun Yongxing, causing the prize to be won by Sun Yongxing. Since then, the sect leader of the God-Destroying Sect had been brooding and often found opportunities to cause friction with the Tai Yi Divine Sect. Chapter 2180. One arm and one leg. Isn't that a little too little? Ningyu moved his feet and stood side by side with Sun Yongxing. He said to the gray-robed cultivator, "Why don't you leave behind your arms and legs?" When the gray-robed cultivator heard Ningyu's words, he raised his eyebrows and looked at Ningyu with interest. Ancestral immortal? When the gray-clad cultivator felt the aura that Ningyu exuded, he revealed a look of disdain. He was an early-stage essence immortal. How could a mere ancestral immortal dare to speak to him in such a tone? With a cold expression, the gray-clad cultivator said ferociously, "Since you are meddling in other people's business, I will start with you." Whoosh! As the gray-robed cultivator spoke, his figure flashed as he charged straight at Ningyu. "Be careful!" Mo Hui quickly warned when he saw the gray-clothed cultivator charging at Ningyu. Mo Hui's memories of Ningyu still stopped at the foreign battlefield. From Mo Hui's point of view, Ningyu could fight against a half-step essence immortal skyfiend, but against a gray-robed martial artist at the essence immortal realm, he could only bear a grudge. Therefore Mo Hui roared with all his might, "Run! Xiao!" Right after Mo Hui shouted, Sun Yongxing leaped up and blocked the gray-clad cultivator's attack for Ningyu. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Sun Yongxing and the gray-robed old man retreated dozens of feet before stabilizing themselves. In this strike, both sides were evenly matched. "Not bad, you can actually block a punch with 50% of my strength." The gray-clothed martial artist cracked his neck and said, I don't know if you can block the next punch. Whoosh. The next moment, the immortal chi in the gray-robed cultivator's body wrapped around his fist as he punched towards Sun Yongxing's head. The gray-clothed martial artist used 100% of his strength in this punch. His goal was very clear, and that was to defeat Sun Yongxing. Courting death. Ningyu was well aware of this. With Sun Yongxing's battle prowess, there was an 80% chance that he would not be able to block the gray-clothed martial artist's attack. So, he was a step ahead of Sun Yongxing to go against the gray-clothed martial artist. Gotcha! There was a cracking sound. Immediately after, the gray-clad cultivator screamed like a pig being slaughtered. One move. Ningyu only used one move to defeat the gray-robed cultivator. Furthermore, he even sent the gray-robed cultivator sprawling on the ground. Such a terrifying display caused Sun Yongxing and the others to gasp. They knew that Ningyu was strong, but they didn't expect him to be this strong. Previously, no one would have thought that he would be able to defeat an early-stage essence immortal gray-robed martial artist with one move. Poochie! Blood spurted out of his mouth as the gray-clothed cultivator struggled to stand up. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the gray-clothed cultivator said fiercely, "Do you know who I am? An elder of the god exterminating sect has offended me. I'll make you noisy." Before the gray-robed cultivator finished speaking, Ningyu rushed out again. Bang! The essence immortal laws wrapped around his fist as Ningyu punched the gray-robed warrior's head. All of a sudden, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Swoosh! The sudden change stunned the remaining 3 cultivators of the god exterminating sect. Killed? An early-stage essence immortal gray-robed cultivator was actually killed by a single punch from this young man? The early-stage essence immortal god exterminating sect cultivator was still fine. He was confident that he could escape from Ningyu. However, the 2 half-step essence immortal cultivators were trembling. Given their strength, they probably didn't even have the right to escape. Leave your arms and legs behind. Then you can scram. Ningyu glanced at the remaining 3 cultivators of the god exterminating sect, and said calmly, "Don't go too far." One of the half-step essence immortal said coldly, "We are the god exterminating sect." Poochie. The outcome was obvious. The half-step essence immortal stopped abruptly halfway through his sentence. Ningyu flicked the red devil sword and threw the half-step essence immortal and the corpse of the gray-robed cultivator into his storage ring. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were still struggling to break through to the ancestral immortal realm in the storage ring. With extra people to devour, Ningyu naturally wouldn't forget about them. "Sect Master, save me!" The remaining 2 god exterminating sect cultivators screamed crazily as they fled. To them, Ningyu was too terrifying. Facing Ningyu was even more terrifying than facing the sect master of the god exterminating sect. Seeing the 2 god exterminating sect cultivators flee, Ningyu stood where he was and didn't choose to chase after them. Ningyu's actions made Sun Yongxing a little puzzled. "Why don't you chase after them?" Sun Yongxing asked. "Don't worry, we won't chase after them. They will come to us on their own." Ningyu waved his hand and said, "The most important thing now is to treat Mo Hui as soon as possible." "Treat Mo Hui?" Sun Yongxing was puzzled. Poochie. As if to prove Ningyu's words, Mo Hui suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body began to expand rapidly. "Get down." Ningyu leaped to Mo Hui's side and slapped Mo Hui's head. 4 essence immortal nomological laws surged out and quickly entered Mo Hui's body. The reason why Ningyu didn't chase after the god exterminating sect cultivators was because he wanted to save Mo Hui and also because he was aware of the danger. When he killed the god exterminating sect cultivators just now, there were at least a few terrifying senses that swept over him from all directions. The weakest of these senses was a mid-stage essence immortal. In fact, one of them had even reached the peak of the essence immortal realm. Although Ning Yu killed the early-stage essence immortal gray-robed cultivator effortlessly, the difference between a mid-stage essence immortal and an early-stage essence immortal was worlds apart. It definitely wouldn't be as easy for him to deal with a mid-stage essence immortal warrior. Saving Mo Hui was one thing, and on the other hand, Ning Yu wanted to make use of the gap that the God-exterminating sect master had found to try and refine the heavenly demon's heart. No matter when, improving his strength was the most important thing. With the help of the four essence immortal nomological laws, Mo Hui's swollen body gradually recovered. Let's go back to the Shui Yu restaurant. Ning Yu grabbed Mo Hui's shoulder and returned to the Shui Yu restaurant. Whoosh! Seeing Ning Yu enter the Shui Yu restaurant, the many cultivators who were hiding around retreated. These cultivators had different thoughts in their minds. Some wanted to rope in Ning Yu. After all, Ning Yu was young and strong. Of course, most of these people were neutral and had little to do with the God-exterminating sect and the Tai Divine sect. Another group of people felt that they should kill Ning Yu to prevent Ning Yu from becoming stronger. Obviously, these people had enmity with the Tai Divine sect or were on good terms with the God-exterminating sect. Everyone's thoughts were not within the scope of Ning Yu's consideration. After treating Mo Hui, Ning Yu warned Sun Yongxing and the others that if the God-exterminating sect master came, they must guard the Shui Yu restaurant and not go out to fight no matter what. Unless he came out of seclusion, he would have to endure all the insults from the God-exterminating sect. Ning Yu knew very well that as long as Sun Yongxing and the others guarded the Shui Yu restaurant, the God-exterminating sect would definitely not dare to barge in. There was no other reason. On the top floor of the Shui Yu restaurant, there was a peerless late-stage essence immortal expert. This late-stage essence immortal expert should be the boss behind the Shui Yu restaurant. Chapter 2181. Just as Ning Yu had guessed, the remaining two elders of the God-exterminating sect returned to the Shui Yu restaurant in no time. There were two people who came with them. One of them was dressed in black and was about 60 to 70 years old. The other one was an old woman with a golden walking stick. The black-robed old man was the sect master of the God-destroying sect, the God-destroying evil lord. The old woman with the golden crutch was immortal golden snake. Be it the God-destroying evil lord or the golden snake immortal lord, they were both mid-stage essence immortals. Among them, the God-destroying evil lord was a mid-stage essence immortal, while the golden snake immortal was at the peak of the mid-stage essence immortal, only a step away from the late-stage essence immortal. They are all at Shui Yu restaurant? God-destroying evil monarch stared at the grand restaurant in front of him and said solemnly, "Go and challenge them." The God-destroying evil monarch did not dare to barge into the Shui Yu restaurant. At first, when he heard that the person who killed the God-exterminating sect was in the Shui Yu restaurant, his first thought was not to take revenge, but to calm the anger of the Shui Yu restaurant. Perhaps the remaining two God-exterminating sect martial artists didn't know, but he was very clear about it. The behind-the-scenes boss of the Water Moon restaurant not only had a higher cultivation level than him, but was also a late-stage primordial immortal. Offending the Tai Divine sect was fine, but offending the Shui Yu restaurant was a huge problem. Sun Yongxing, hurry up and get out here. The half-step essence immortal of the God-exterminating sect raised his head and shouted, "You killed an elder of our God-exterminating sect. Today you must pay with your blood." Inside Shui Yu restaurant, Sun Yongxing's face turned ashen when he heard the half-step essence immortal scolding him. However, Sun Yongxing would not go against Ning Yu's instructions. He had set up a soundproof array in the room. No matter how the half-step essence immortal from the God-exterminating sect scolded him, he would not leave the room. As for the rest, such as Lin Tu, Zhou Wen, Zhao Rui, and the Red Fiend, it was up to them. Voila! The curses of the half-step essence immortal expert attracted the attention of the crowd. The experts who had left in the void all came to watch. It was a pity this time they were disappointed, because no matter how the half-step primordial immortal expert cursed, the people from the Tai-E divine sect remained indifferent. After cursing for half an hour, the manager of Shuiyu restaurant came out to reprimand them. He felt helpless. The evil monarch of God-destroying evil monarch had no choice but to wait outside the restaurant. He didn't believe that Ningyu and Sun Yongxing wouldn't come out. Dong, dong, dong. At the same time, in a room on the top floor of the Shuiyu restaurant, there were two people in the room, an old man and a young martial artist. The old man gently tapped the table with his right hand and said, "How about it? Are you confident that you can defeat that Ningyu?" The young cultivator had a grave expression. After thinking for a while, he replied, "If I don't use my physique, I should be evenly matched with him." The old man stood up and said indifferently, "You're wrong. Your physique is very special, but his physique is not weak either." "What kind of physique does he have?" the young martial artist asked. "War god body." The elder said, "You have the overlord body, and he has the war god body. Strictly speaking, your physiques are equally matched." Hearing this, the young martial artist's expression changed slightly. He knew how terrifying the war god body was. He had once fought with a martial artist with the war god body. At that time, he had used his overlord body, but he was still defeated by the war god body. The war god body was divided into several levels. The weakest war god body might only awaken 10% of its bloodline. The intermediate war god body would awaken 50% of its bloodline power. As for the advanced war god body, it would awaken 70% or even 80% of its bloodline power. The war god body that he had fought back then was an advanced war god body. "We can absorb him." The old man tapped the table again and said indifferently, "The Brilliant Void Conference will be held in a month's time. At that time, the new alliance leader will be elected through the conference." Conference to elect the alliance leader? The young martial artist was slightly startled and then asked doubtfully, "What does this have to do with attracting Ningyu?" "The most promising candidates for the position are the alliance leader of the Gods Alliance, the alliance leader of the Gods Alliance, and the alliance leader of the Water Moon Alliance," the old man explained. "As the alliance leaders of the three alliances are of similar strength, a fight might cause unrest in the Brilliant Void Alliance. Therefore, after discussion by the senior elders, the three alliances will each send 5 experts to spar. The alliance leader of the winning alliance will be the new alliance leader." The young martial artist finally understood after hearing the old man's explanation. The old man wanted Ningyu to represent the Water Moon Alliance. But the young martial artist thought about it and said hesitantly, "Ningyu's cultivation is only mid-stage ancestral immortal." The old man waved his hand and interrupted the young martial artist. "Isn't your cultivation also mid-stage ancestral immortal? It doesn't matter if your cultivation is low. Our Water Moon Alliance lacks everything but resources. There's still a month before the Brilliant Void Conference. By then, you and Ningyu should be able to advance to late-stage ancestral immortal or even peak ancestral immortal." The young martial artist opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he chose to keep quiet. He had seen the scene of Ningyu defeating the gray-robed martial artist. To be honest, he could do it too. He wasn't jealous of Ningyu. After all, the other 2 alliances definitely had peerless geniuses as well. He couldn't do it on his own. He couldn't ask for more help from someone of equal strength. Ningyu didn't know about the conversation between the young martial artist and the old man. At this time, Ningyu set up an array around the room and took out the heavenly demon's heart. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn as he looked at the Skydemon's heart in his hand. He didn't have absolute confidence in controlling the skull of a peerless immortal Skydemon. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool and carefully tapped them on the Skydemon's heart. Ding ding ding! As he tapped the leftover materials, crisp sounds came from the Skydman's heart. I can't go on like this. After tapping for a while, Ningyu put away the leftover materials and summoned the 4 essence immortal laws in his body to wrap around the Skydman's heart. I wonder if there are peerless immortal laws inside. Ningyu's expression was extremely solemn. Given his current strength, he could forcibly refine the essence immortal laws. However, he wouldn't be able to refine peerless immortal laws. Therefore, while he hoped that the Skydman's heart would contain peerless immortal laws, he was also afraid that he wouldn't be able to refine them. Crack, crack. All of a sudden, there was a cracking sound. Then, a terrifying aura emanated from the Skydman's heart. F***ck me. Ningyu couldn't help but swear when he sensed the aura emanating from the Skydman's heart. From the aura, Ningyu could tell that the Skydman's heart definitely contained peerless immortal laws. The peerless immortal laws weren't the reason why Ningyu had cursed. Ningyu had cursed because he discovered that there was something alive inside the Skydman's heart. The Skydman's heart was the skull of a sky demon. Was there something alive inside? Chapter 2182. Seal it. Ningyu's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly used the 4 essence immortal laws to seal the heavenly demon's heart. Ningyu did not dare to rashly open it before he was sure if the thing inside the heavenly demon's heart was alive or not. That was because if the heavenly demon's heart was alive and extremely powerful, the consequences would be unimaginable. What exactly is it? Ningyu released his perception and carefully approached the heavenly demon's heart. His top priority was to determine if there was any living thing inside the heavenly demon's heart. Crack! As soon as Ningyu's perception approached the heavenly demon's heart, it exploded before it could even enter. The sudden change caused Ningyu's expression to change drastically. Since the 4 essence immortal laws could not seal the heavenly demon's heart, it was obvious that the thing inside the heavenly demon's heart was extremely dangerous. At the critical moment, Ningyu hurriedly released all his immortal chi and soul power. In fact, Ningyu even took out the Times Square pagoda. If it really did not work, he could think of a way to store the heavenly demon's heart in the Times Square pagoda. Humph! Ignorant child, how dare you refine me? A black elixir pill sprang out of the exploded heavenly demon's heart. This black elixir pill was rather special. It had a mouth, eyes, and even limbs. It looked like a little person. The black elixir pill placed its hands on its hips and said viciously to Ningyu, "You're just an ancestral immortal. Hurry up and kowtow to me and admit your mistake. Maybe if I'm in a good mood I'll spare your worthless life." Elixir pill? Ningyu did not answer the black elixir pill's words. Instead, his mouth was slightly agape, a little confused. He had seen many elixir pills, but this was the first time he had seen one that could speak. However, Ningyu knew very well that the value of every form transformation pill broke through the heavens. From the thick medicinal fragrance emitted by the black elixir pill, Ningyu could tell that it was at least a top-grade elixir pill. A peerless immortal elixir pill? All of a sudden, this thought appeared in Ningyu's mind. Generally speaking, only peerless immortals would dare take peerless immortal pills. Because this type of pill was extremely tyrannical, an ordinary martial artist's body could not withstand it. "Kid, hurry up and kowtow to me a few times." The black medicinal pill placed his left hand on his hip and pointed at Ningyu with his right hand. He said viciously, "Otherwise, I'll let you know what cruelty is." Rumble. As he spoke, an imposing aura emanated from the black pill. Hiss. Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air as he sensed the terrifying degree of this aura. Although the black elixir was just an elixir, his strength had reached the late-stage virtual immortal realm. Ningyu was now at the mid-stage ancestor immortal realm, and he had 4 essence immortal laws. It could even kill mid-stage essence immortal martial artists. However, against a late-stage essence immortal, it was a little difficult. Pills, pills, as Ningyu resisted the aura emanating from the black pill with great difficulty, he thought of a countermeasure. The best way to deal with a manifestation pill was to force out the medicinal energy from its body. At that thought, Ningyu leaped forward. Instead of retreating, he attacked the black pill with 4 essence immortal laws in his hand. Ningyu's idea was simple. Elixirs were elixirs after all. During intense battles, humans could consume elixirs and essence crystals to increase their consumption of immortal chi. What about the pill? It couldn't possibly consume itself, right? Therefore, with every bit of medicinal power consumed, the fighting strength of the pill would decrease. As long as it could hold on for a while, the black pill would definitely be at a disadvantage. Rumble! The battle erupted in an instant. Others might not believe it. Ningyu held 4 essence immortal nomological laws in his hands and was fighting an intense battle with a pill. Moreover, from the looks of it, Ningyu was at a complete disadvantage. However, Ningyu was not discouraged. Every time the immortal chi in his body was almost depleted, he would take out essence crystals to replenish it. On the other hand, the black pill was so angry that its nose was crooked. Just as Ningyu had guessed, every time they fought, the medicinal power in his body would be released. Unless he raised his level, he would never be able to release the medicinal power as he pleased. Stop now. After fighting for half an hour, the black pill hurriedly said, I won't fight with you anymore. Let's reconcile. Reconcile? Haha, it's too late to reconcile now. A faint smile appeared on Ningyu's face as he unleashed all sorts of spell techniques to attack the black pill. It could be said that, at that moment, Ningyu was very excited. To him, as long as he could control this black pill, he would not have to worry about breaking through to the essence immortal realm in the future. Damn it! Seeing that it could not convince Ningyu, the black pill shouted, I'm the clone of Di Xian Dan. If you consume me, Di Xian Dan will not let you off. Swoosh! Ningyu's expression darkened at the black pill's words. Di Wentian again. No wonder Di Wentian would rather sacrifice his clone to steal the Sky Demon's heart. So the pill inside the Sky Demon's heart was a clone of Di Xian Dan. What kind of pill is the Di Xian Dan? Ningyu asked in a low voice. It's a very high-grade pill. Di Wentian refined it to break through to the peerless immortal realm. The black pill did not dare tarry. Rumor has it that Di Wentian's real body has already ascended to peak virtual immortal realm. He personally refined the Di Xian Dan to break through to the peerless immortal realm. You say you're the Di Xian Dan's clone? What's that about? Ningyu asked again. The Di Xian Dan has a total of 9 pills. Only when all 9 are combined can it be refined into the final pill. The black pill gritted its teeth and continued. The 9 clone pills were stored in 9 Sky Demons' hearts by Di Wentian. Each Sky Demon's heart is the skull of a peerless immortal Sky Demon. Swoosh! Ningyu had a rough idea of what was going on after hearing the black pill's explanation. If even the clone pill was this terrifying, then one could only imagine how terrifying the Di Xian Dan was. No wonder he hadn't seen Di Wentian since arriving at Sky Star City. So he was busy refining the Di Xian Dan. Here's my chance. The black pill raised an eyebrow when it saw Ningyu's dazed expression. It turned into a blur and charged forward. The black pill's plan was simple. While Ningyu was distracted, it would attack with all its might, kill Ningyu, and then refine Ningyu. Ningyu stood there in a daze, as if he hadn't seen the black pill's charge. Ding! The next moment, a crisp sound rang out. Ah! A miserable shriek, like that of a pig being slaughtered, came from the black pill's mouth. I knew you'd ambush me. Ningyu took out the leftover material from the lightning pool at the heart. He'd expected the black pill to attack, so he'd placed the leftover material at the heart. Just in time, the black pill's sneak attack landed on the leftover material of the lightning pool. How tough was the leftover material of the lightning pool? Even if the Di Xian Dan came personally, he might not be able to break the leftover material. The black pill's head hit the leftover material of the lightning pool and deflated on the spot. Ningyu grasped the opportunity. He grabbed the black pill's head and exerted force. Whoosh! In an instant. Chapter 2183. Gotcha! Ningyu didn't give the black pill any chance. With a flick of his wrist, he swallowed the black pill along with its head and body. As the pill slid down his throat and into his stomach, Ningyu's body instantly emitted a berserk energy. Refine. Ningyu didn't dare to delay. He quickly sat down cross-legged and began to use his spell to refine the pill. Even though Ningyu had the war god's physique and his body was abnormally tough, he was still able to withstand it. However, he still did not dare to relax. Chi. Under Ningyu's efforts, the black pill was constantly being refined. For essence, immortal nomological laws also entered Ningyu's body, protecting Ningyu. Drip. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. In this hour, Ningyu had already refined 1/10 of the pills. Bang! A muffled sound came from Ningyu's body. Following that, a terrifying aura was emitted from Ningyu's body. Late-stage ancestral immortal. After just refining 1/10 of the pill, Ningyu had already advanced from the ancestor immortal middle stage to the ancestor immortal late stage. One could imagine that once he refined all the elixirs, there was a high chance that he would advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal stage, or even a half step into the virtual immortal stage. However, Ningyu had no intentions of trying to reach the pinnacle of the ancestor immortal stage. He took a deep breath and began to use the pills to awaken the body of the war god bloodline. Previously, he had only awakened a portion of the body of the divine god of battle bloodline, and the power of the bloodline was around 50 to 60%. If he could completely awaken the power of his bloodline, then his overall strength could even increase by several times. Therefore, to Ningyu, the benefits of breaking through to the peak of ancestral immortal stage were far inferior to the benefits of awakening his bloodline power. The bloodline power of the divine god of war was extremely difficult to awaken. Ningyu used all the remaining medicinal energy in the pill to awaken his bloodline power. Drip. Another hour passed. 60% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. 3 hours later, 70% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. 5 hours passed. 80% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. As the saying went, the further one went, the harder it was to awaken one's bloodline. Even with the help of elixirs, Ningyu was still unable to awaken 90% of the war god's body bloodline. Awaken! Ningyu swallowed all the pills, herbs, and crystals he had on him. After awakening 80% of the battle god body's bloodline, Ningyu felt that he could go against a late-stage essence immortal. But that was not enough. What Ningyu wanted was to awaken the 90% bloodline of the god of war body so that he could easily kill a late-stage essence immortal martial artist. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. When the 4th day arrived, a terrifying aura surged from Ningyu's body. Fortunately, Ningyu had sealed the room in advance. Otherwise, the aura that rushed out from his body would have attracted the attention of the old man on the top floor of the Shueyu Tower. Even so, the old man and young martial artist on the top floor of the Shueyu Tower had arrived at Ningyu's room a long time ago. They waited for 3 days, but there was no sign of Ningyu coming out. Therefore, they decided to check on the situation personally and convince Ningyu to join the Shueyu Alliance. The young martial artist frowned and asked curiously, "He hasn't come out for 3 days. Did he meet with some problems?" "Don't worry, there's nothing wrong." The old man shook his head. "The people of God exterminating sect are cursing so loudly outside, but Ningyu still hasn't appeared. This means that he's cultivating to reach late-stage ancestor immortal." Late-stage ancestor immortal? The young martial artist frowned. He shouldn't be able to reach late-stage Ancestor Immortal within 3 days. Nothing is impossible. Didn't you advance to late-stage Ancestor Immortal? The old man said. I'm different. I was at the peak of mid-stage Ancestor Immortal to begin with. It's only natural for me to advance to late-stage Ancestor Immortal, the young martial artist argued. Creak. Right then. The tightly shut door opened slowly. A skinny young man walked out from inside. Looking at the 2 martial artists before him, Ningyu asked, Who are you guys looking for? You. The old man smiled. Aren't you going to invite us in to take a seat? Please enter. Ningyu turned around and entered the room. Gulp. The young martial artist stood rooted to the spot and did not enter the room with the old man. In truth, the young martial artist was shocked when he sensed the aura that Ningyu gave off. Late-stage Ancestor Immortal. With his sharp senses, he could naturally tell that Ningyu was at late-stage Ancestor Immortal cultivation. The reason why he could advance to late-stage Ancestor Immortal in 3 days was because he was at the peak of mid-stage Ancestor Immortal to begin with. Moreover, he had expended a large amount of resources of the Shuei-Yu Alliance. But how was Ningyu able to advance to late-stage Ancestor Immortal in 3 days? Confusion, doubt, and confusion appeared in the young martial artist's heart. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come in. Suddenly, the old man's voice rang out in the young martial artist's ears. Upon hearing that, the young martial artist entered the room hurriedly. Let me introduce myself. I am the elder of the Water Moon Alliance, Jing Jiqiang. The old man introduced himself before pointing at the young martial artist. He is the core disciple of the Water Moon Alliance, Song Qing. Ningyu did not say anything and waited quietly. He knew that Jing Jiqiang and Song Qing were definitely not here for a simple introduction. They definitely had a reason for coming here. As expected, after the introduction, Jing Jiqiang continued, Our goal is simple. We want you to join the Water Moon Alliance and become a core disciple. Don't be in a hurry to reject us. Seeing that Ningyu wanted to speak, Jing Jiqiang continued, There are many major alliances in the Kuan-Su Alliance, such as the Water Moon Alliance, God's Alliance, and God's Slaying Alliance. There are many benefits to joining these alliances. Cultivation resources, personal protection for friends, etc. All in all, there are many benefits to joining the Water Moon Alliance. Ningyu frowned slightly. There was no such thing as free lunch in the world. He said calmly, What do you need me to pay? You don't have to pay too much. Just help the Water Moon Alliance fight with the geniuses of the other 2 alliances, Jing Jiqiang said. Ningyu glanced at Song Qing and said, He is very powerful. With him, I don't think the Water Moon Alliance needs me. Although Song Qing is powerful, he is only one person. Jing Jiqiang said, For the fight between the 3 alliances, each alliance needs to send 5 peerless geniuses. Including Song Qing, the Water Moon Alliance only has 4 in total. It was as if he was afraid that Ningyu would reject him. Jing Jiqiang pointed at the powerhouses of the Gods Destroying sect who were guarding outside the Water Moon restaurant and said, As long as you agree, I will get rid of them for you. No need. I will take care of my own business. Ningyu waved his hand. With his current strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with the small fries of the Gods Destroying sect. Those who were unaccountably solicitous were hiding evil intentions. Before he was sure of Jing Jiqiang's real purpose, Ningyu would not agree to anything foolishly. How about this, why don't you go to the Water Moon Alliance with us first and then make a decision? Jing Jiqiang knew that it was hard for Ningyu to believe him. Chapter 2184. Let's talk about it after I settle the trouble outside. Ningyu did not agree to Jing Jiqiang's request, nor did he reject it directly. He did not know much about the Water Moon Alliance. If he agreed or rejected it rashly, there might be unnecessary trouble. Therefore, Ning Yu decided to deal with the few people from God exterminating sect first before asking Sun Yongxing what kind of organization the Water Moon Alliance was. Alright then. Jing Jiqiang nodded and said, Song Qing and I will be at the top floor of the Water Moon restaurant. You can look for us after you settle the problem with God exterminating sect. Although Ning Yu was only a late-stage ancestor immortal and the God-exterminating evil lord was a mid-stage essence immortal, Zheng Jiqiang believed that Ning Yu would be able to get rid of the God-exterminating evil lord easily. That was because even he felt some pressure when facing Ning Yu. Swish. Ning Yu did not waste any time. He flashed and went straight to the door of the Water Moon restaurant. Sun Yongxing, Lin Tu, Zhou Wen and the rest came out with Ning Yu. In the past few days, the people from God exterminating sect had been cursing outside the restaurant with filthy word. If not for Ning Yu's order not to go out, Sun Yongxing and the rest would have killed their way out. Now that Ning Yu had finally come out of seclusion, Sun Yongxing and the rest naturally moved out to fight to the death with the people from God exterminating sect. Cowards, you're finally out? Upon seeing Ning Yu and the rest, a half-step essence immortal from God exterminating sect shouted, How dare you provoke God exterminating sect? This day next year will be yours. However, before the half-step essence immortal could finish his sentence, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying several feet away. Rubbing his fist, Ning Yu said indifferently, How dare a mere half-step essence immortal threaten me like this? I think you must be tired of living. You must have a death wish. Seeing that his companion was killed, another early-stage essence immortal was enraged and immediately rushed out. Bang! Ning Yu did not care about the early-stage essence immortal's attack at all as he punched out lightly. A crisp sound was heard. Without a doubt, the early-stage essence immortal warrior was sent flying by the punch and died on the spot. Voila! The sudden change caused the surrounding onlookers to suck in a breath of cold air. Killing an early-stage primordial immortal with a single punch. Such strength was truly terrifying. Seeing that his sect's martial artists were killed, God exterminating evil monarch only raised his eyebrows and didn't show much anger. It was as if the two dead martial artists were not from the God exterminating sect. You're pretty strong. Are you interested in joining the God exterminating sect? God exterminating evil monarch stared at Ning Yu with the corner of his mouth slightly raised as he said with interest, I've investigated. The Tai E Divine sect has been destroyed. If you continue to stay in the Tai E Divine sect, you won't be able to develop well. But our God exterminating sect is different. Not long ago, our God exterminating sect joined the God exterminating alliance. Our position in the God exterminating alliance is not low. At this point, the God exterminating evil monarch paused for a moment before continuing, As long as you join the God exterminating sect, I can recommend you to become a core disciple of the God exterminating alliance. God destroying evil monarch was very confident. In the Koan-Su alliance, the God-killing alliance was one of the top 3 alliances. Almost everyone was proud to be a member of the God-killing alliance. In the eyes of the God-destroying evil monarch, as long as Ning Yu was an idiot, he would definitely join the God-destroying sect. However, the ideal was plentiful, but the reality was harsh. Ning Yu shrugged and said faintly, I'm not interested in the God-exterminating sect or the God-slaying alliance. What? The God-destroying evil monarch widened his eyes in disbelief. In the entire Stellar Sky City, was there anyone who wasn't interested in killing the Divine Union? You should know. There were a lot of resources in the Killing God Union. Every core disciple of the Killing God Union could obtain a huge amount of cultivation resources. Ka. Clenching his fists, evil monarch God destroying evil monarch's face instantly darkened. Since you don't want to join the God exterminating sect, I can only apologize to you. Xiao. His voice fell. The God destroying evil monarch stomped on the ground and rushed out. Chi. Due to the extreme speed, the friction between the evil monarch and the god-destroying evil monarch produced a sizzling sound. At the same time, as the evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch rushed out, he displayed his mid-stage essence immortal aura and pressed down on Ningyu. The evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch was enraged. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Ningyu. Sect Master. In front of the Shuiyu restaurant, Zhao Rui and Zhou Wen quickly called out when they saw the evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch rushing out. Among them, only Sun Yongxing was at the early-stage essence immortal level and was qualified to help Ningyu. As for the rest, the highest cultivation level was only at the half-step essence immortal level. They would only be cannon fodder if they rushed forward. Bang! On the other side, the walking stick in immortal golden snake's hand suddenly fell, smashing the bluestone paved ground into pieces. Seeing this, Zhao Rui and the rest's hearts sank to the bottom. Immortal golden snake's attitude was clear. Whoever dared to help Ningyu would be his enemy. How dare he offend the god-exterminating sect? I respect him as a man. So what if he's a man? The sect master of the god-exterminating sect is someone who kills without blinking an eye. Sigh, Ningyu is really muddle-headed. With his talent and strength, he will definitely get a lot of cultivation resources if he joins the god-exterminating sect. He might even have a chance to become the sect master of the god-exterminating sect in the future. Become the sect master of the god-exterminating sect? I think you've lost your mind. That's right. The evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch wants Ningyu to join the god-exterminating sect because he has seen his talent and strength. He wants to capture him and study him. The surrounding martial artists were in a heated discussion. Everyone's opinion was different. Some felt sorry for Ningyu, while some felt that Ningyu did the right thing. In short, no one was optimistic about Ningyu. They even thought that Ningyu would definitely lose. Elder, should we on the top floor of the Shuiyu restaurant? Song Qing frowned slightly and hesitated. The evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch was not too weak. Song Qing had already tacitly accepted Ningyu to join the Water Moon Alliance. He definitely did not want Ningyu to be hurt. It's fine. Jing Jiqiang waved his hand and said, Ningyu's strength is on par with yours. He might even be slightly stronger than you. It's not a problem for him to deal with the sect master of the god-exterminating sect. Slightly stronger than me? Song Qing was in disbelief. If it's you, you can defeat the evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch in a few moves. Jing Jiqiang asked. Song Qing pondered and said proudly, before advancing to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, I could defeat the evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch in 100 moves. But now I only need 10. 10 moves? To tell you the truth, Ningyu only needs one move to defeat the evil monarch god-destroying evil monarch. Jing Jiqiang smiled and said, One move? That's impossible! Song Qing exclaimed. Bang! Just as Song Qing exclaimed, the outcome of the battle in front of the Shuiyu restaurant was decided. Swish! Song Qing hurriedly stood up and stared at the battlefield in front of the Shuiyu restaurant in shock. In the middle of the battlefield. Chapter 2185. Whoosh! The sudden change caused the surrounding martial artists to be dumbfounded. Some even thought that they were seeing things and rubbed their eyes hard. But soon they realized that they weren't seeing things. Instead, something unbelievable had happened. One punch. Just like the early-stage primordial immortal martial artist, Ningyu only used one punch to defeat God, exterminating evil lord. What kind of freak was he? A late-stage ancestor immortal defeated a mid-stage primordial immortal with one punch. Could it be Ningyu was a core disciple of the three major alliances? Everyone knew. In the Stellar Sky City, only the core disciples of the three major alliances would be able to do this. Spurting out fresh blood, God-exterminating evil lord said to Ningyu, I admit that you are powerful, but you should never have provoked me. Do you still have any trump cards? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and sent a voice transmission to God exterminating evil lord. Don't think that I don't know who you are, heavenly demon. Ningyu did not finish his sentence, because he knew that he only needed to give a hint and God exterminating evil lord would understand. I have no idea what you are talking about. God exterminating evil lord's eyes flickered. The mountains will not change, and the rivers will flow. We will meet again. As he spoke, God exterminating evil lord dragged his heavy footsteps and walked away. Swish! How could Ningyu give God exterminating evil lord a chance to escape? He moved quickly and blocked God exterminating evil lord's path of retreat. Don't be in a hurry to leave, tell me where Di Wentian is. Ningyu grabbed God exterminating evil lord's neck and lifted him up, whispering, You only have one chance to live, cherish it. Golden Snake Immortal Lord, save me. God exterminating evil lord did not compromise even after being reminded by Ningyu, and chose to ask Golden Snake Immortal Lord for help. Damn it. Golden Snake Immortal Lord did not want to save God exterminating evil lord at first. This was because she could tell from Ningyu's move that Ningyu was very strong. At the very least, he was on par with her. In other words, she did not have the confidence to win against Ningyu. Although she was a member of the Divine Killing Union, she felt that it was not worth risking her life for the God-destroying evil lord. However, the evil monarch of God-destroying evil monarch's right foot lightly tapped the ground 3 times, making her change her mind. Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew that there was an elixir in God-destroying evil king's mansion. It was that pill that made her decide to help the God-destroying evil monarch. Let him go. Immortal Golden Snake took a step forward and pointed his crutch at Ningyu. He said coldly, I'm from the God-slaying alliance. Let him go and everything will be fine. Otherwise, you'll become an enemy of the God-slaying alliance. Elder. On the top floor of Shueiyu Restaurant. Seeing that Golden Snake Immortal was using the God-slaying alliance to suppress Ningyu, Song Qing hurriedly said, Shouldn't we show ourselves? It's not convenient for me to show myself. You go and take a look. Jing Jicheng thought for a moment and said, Remember, Ningyu is from the Water Moon Alliance. You must remember this. Understood. Song Qing cupped his fists, tore the void, and appeared in front of Immortal Lord Golden Snake. Song Qing. Obviously, Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew Song Qing. After all, Song Qing was a core disciple of the Water Moon Alliance and ranked among the top geniuses in the alliance. Ningyu is from the Water Moon Alliance. I advise you to leave as soon as possible, Song Qing said coldly. Boom. Song Qing's words caused another uproar in the surroundings. Everyone was discussing. No wonder Ningyu rejected the God-destroying evil lord. It turns out that he has already joined the Water Moon Alliance. Yeah, the Water Moon Alliance and the God-slaying Alliance are both top alliances. There's going to be a good show this time. Even Song Qing of the Water Moon Alliance has come. I wonder if the core disciples of the God-slaying Alliance will show up. It's hard to say. The Brilliant Void Conference is about to begin. I really want to see the core disciples of the 2 alliances fight before the conference. The crowd's discussion made Immortal Golden Snake's face darken. This time, he came with the God-destroying evil lord for his personal gain. He wanted the elixir pills of the God-destroying evil lord. Now that Song Qing of the Water Moon Alliance had appeared, he was in a dilemma. Gritting his teeth, Immortal Lord Golden Snake said, I can leave, but I want to take the God-destroying evil lord with me. Swoosh. Song Qing looked at Ningyu, apparently seeking Ningyu's opinion. If Ningyu was willing to let the God-destroying evil lord go, he would not stop him. But if Ningyu wanted to keep the God-destroying evil lord, he would stand firmly on Ningyu's side. You can leave, but the God-destroying evil lord has to stay, Ningyu said without hesitation. Let the god-destroying evil lord go? What a joke! The god-destroying evil lord had surrendered to the heavenly demons. Letting him go was no different from letting a tiger return to the mountain. Don't go too far. Immortal Lord Golden Snake said angrily. I have given you enough face, you Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted Immortal Lord Golden Snake. Your face is not worth much. I don't need it. You have two choices. Get lost, or I will beat you to the ground. Ah, true character, I like it. Song Qing patted Ningyu's shoulder and laughed wildly. Don't, I don't like men. Ningyu quickly moved away from Song Qing. His sexual orientation was normal. Song Qing rolled his eyes and said, Get lost, my sexual orientation is normal too. What I mean is, I admire you. It's okay. Ningyu showed a look of relief. To be liked by a powerful genius, Ningyu would definitely break down. Because it was difficult to get rid of such a genius. You want to beat our Divine Alliance member to the ground? Suddenly, an indifferent voice came from afar. Swoosh. Following that, a young martial artist in blue walked over and landed in front of Immortal Lord Golden Snake. Su Ming. Song Qing's expression turned grim when he saw the martial artist in blue. He knew this person. Su Ming, a core disciple of the Divine Alliance. Su Ming was ranked 5th among all the core disciples of the Divine Alliance. Su Ming might only be ranked 5th, but Song Qing knew better than anyone that Su Ming's true combat strength was enough to rank him in the top 3, or even first, of all the core disciples of the Divine Alliance. That was because Su Ming's constitution was unique. It was 1 in a million. Blood-devouring body. The so-called blood-devouring body was an extremely unique constitution. The terrifying thing about the blood-devouring body was its terrifying sensitivity to blood. Su Ming had a small bottle of the blood of a peak essence immortal. As long as Su Ming drank a mouthful of blood, his blood-devouring body would be triggered and his combat strength would multiply. That was why Song Qing was wary of Su Ming. You're at the late-stage ancestral immortal stage at such a young age. Not bad at all. Su Ming did not look at Song Qing. Instead, he said to Ningyu, I'll give you a chance now. Kneel down and kowtow a few times before joining the Divine Alliance. Chapter 2186. Swoosh. In an instant, all the martial artists in the area turned to look at Ningyu. Everyone knew that Su Ming was a core disciple of the Divine Slaying Alliance. He was active in Tianxing City and was a celebrity. However, everyone's understanding of Ningyu was limited to him killing an early-stage essence immortal with one punch and severely injuring the mid-stage essence immortal evil lord with one move. Hence, the clash between Ningyu and Su Ming was a highlight for everyone. Song Qing stood rooted to the ground, his eyes flickering. Song Qing had a trump card. Under the premise that he used it, it was unknown who would win between him and Su Ming. But now, Song Qing did not want to reveal his trump card. After all, he had to represent the Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void meeting and fight for the position of Alliance Master. If he revealed his trump card now, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, since Song Qing was already on Ningyu's side, if he did not show up now, he would inevitably become a laughingstock. He was in a dilemma. At that moment, Ningyu turned to look at Song Qing and asked in confusion, What's wrong recently? Why are there so many flies buzzing in my ears? Hearing this, Song Qing raised his brows and looked at Ningyu in surprise. Honestly, Song Qing did not think that Ningyu was Su Ming's match. In fact, Song Qing had already thought of a countermeasure. If it really did not work, he would ask Xing Jiqiang to step in. However, Ningyu's behavior clearly showed that he wanted to go against Su Ming. There are indeed a lot of flies. The Red Fiend understood Ningyu's intentions. He moved forward slightly to the side of Ningyu and echoed, The flies in this season are always annoying. After being with Ningyu for so long, the Red Fiend could figure out the meaning of Ningyu's words. Since Ningyu wanted to fight Su Ming, the Red Fiend naturally would not stand by idly. When necessary, he would fuse with the Red Fiend's sword and fight Su Ming with Ningyu. What did you say? When he heard Ningyu and the Red Devil echo each other, Su Ming's eyes widened and he released his aura. Chi. Late-stage ancestral immortal cultivation and mid-stage virtual immortal aura. The aura that erupted from Su Ming reached the terrifying mid-stage essence immortal realm. As expected of a core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, Su Ming's true battle prowess should be at the peak of a mid-stage essence immortal, right? Middle-stage essence immortal? I think you've lost your mind. A few days ago, Su Ming entered the extraterritorial battlefield and personally killed a peak mid-stage virtual immortal heavenly demon. Hiss! As soon as the last cultivator finished speaking, everyone around him sucked in a breath of cold air. Killing a peak mid-stage virtual immortal skyfiend. His strength was at least equivalent to a late-stage virtual immortal. You should know. The heavenly demons were very powerful. In a situation where they were at the same cultivation level, a human martial artist might not be a match for a heavenly demon. The fact that Su Ming could kill a mid-stage essence immortal heavenly demon meant that his battle prowess had long since reached the late-stage essence immortal realm. Sigh, it's fine that there are so many flies, but they don't even understand human language. Ningyu shrugged and sighed softly. I'll say it again. There are too many flies that keep buzzing in my ears. It's annoying. You're courting death. Su Ming was furious. As a core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, he had always been high and mighty in Tianxing City. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Now, a late-stage ancestral immortal martial artist with a cultivation level similar to his was openly provoking him and calling him a fly. How could he tolerate that? With a furious roar, Su Ming rose from the ground and charged at Ningyu. Watch out! Song Qing shouted when he saw Su Ming charging at Ningyu. He even took the initiative to exchange blows with Su Ming. Bang! Their fists collided. Then, Song Qing and Su Ming retreated dozens of feet at the same time. This move, because both sides used their trump cards, so both sides were evenly matched. Song Qing, are you really going to protect him? Su Ming's expression was cold as he stared at Song Qing. You must know that the Killing God Alliance will definitely win first place in this brilliant void meeting. Whether the Water Moon Alliance can continue to exist is unknown, so I advise you not to do anything stupid. Whether the Water Moon Alliance can continue to exist. Song Qing frowned. There's no harm in telling you. Su Ming snorted. In the Brilliant Void Conference, not only will we elect a new alliance leader, but we'll also cancel all the alliances. When the time comes, there will only be one alliance in the entire Brilliant Void Alliance, the God-Killing Alliance. I already said that Ningyu is from the Water Moon Alliance. If you touch him, you'll be making an enemy out of the Water Moon Alliance. Song Qing made his stance clear again. At the same time, he glanced at the top floor of the Water Moon restaurant out of the corner of his eye. That was because the Water Moon Alliance's elder, Jing Jiqiang, was there. Although Jing Jiqiang was only a late-stage essence immortal, he had the Water Moon Alliance's ultimate treasure. Even if Su Ming used his trump card, he would not be able to fight him. Fine, I'll let you win this time. How could Su Ming not know that Jing Jiqiang was on the top floor of the Water Moon restaurant? He glared fiercely at Ningyu before moving his feet and walking away. Immortal Lord Golden Snake, take God-destroying evil lord away. Su Ming did not forget the purpose of his visit. To take Immortal Lord Golden Snake and God-destroying evil lord away. Su Ming was not a fool. He had come to help God-destroying evil lord because he had learned from some source that God-destroying evil lord had an elixir. He wanted that elixir so that he could become a essence immortal. Otherwise, why would he appear for the sect master of the god-destroying sect? Did I ask you to take him away? At that moment, Ning Yu's indifferent voice was heard. Leave god-destroying evil lord and immortal lord Golden Snake, and you can leave. What? Su Ming was furious. He could not believe what he had heard. He had spared Ning Yu for Song Qing's sake. Who would have thought that Ning Yu would not know what was good for him and provoke him again? This could not be tolerated. Su Ming stopped and said fiercely, "You could have taken the road to heaven, but you chose to barge into hell. Song Qing, if you dare interfere again, I'll kill you too." As the word kill rang out, Su Ming turned into a blur and sped away. It was obvious that Su Ming was furious. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Ning Yu. It was useless no matter what anyone said. Damn it! Song Qing cursed. Song Qing had the urge to curse at Ning Yu for taking matters into his own hands. But he had already said that Ning Yu was a member of the Water Moon Alliance. If Ning Yu was in trouble, he couldn't not help. Therefore, Song Qing could only bite the bullet and help. I alone am enough to deal with him. Ning Yu waved at Song Qing, then tore the void with both hands and entered. Crack! In the blink of an eye, the void next to Su Ming cracked. A fist containing terrifying immortal qi emerged and smashed at him. Essence Immortal Law. Su Ming's pupils constricted when he sensed the 4 essence immortal laws on the fist. He quickly wanted to use the blood of a peak essence immortal. But unfortunately, it was too late for Su Ming to activate the blood-devouring physique now. Crack, crack, crack. Several crisp sounds were heard. Su Ming was sent flying and slammed into the ground. Chapter 2187. Ah! The broken ribs in front of his chest made Su Ming let out a hysterical roar. Right now, Su Ming was filled with regret. He was extremely regretful. If he hadn't been arrogant and not used his full strength just now, it was hard to tell who would have won the fight between him and Ning Yu. After all, Ning Yu had used 4 essence immortal laws, while he hadn't even used his essence immortal laws, let alone the blood-devouring body. How is this possible? What did I see? Are my eyes blind? You're not blind. Ning Yu defeated Su Ming, the core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, in one move. Gulp, I thought Ning Yu was just pretending. I didn't expect him to be so awesome. Everyone exclaimed. The terrifying strength Ning Yu displayed caused them to exclaim in admiration. Song Qing stood rooted to the ground, a little dumbfounded. He thought he had overestimated Ning Yu, but who would have thought that he was still underestimating him? From the fight between Ning Yu and Su Ming, he judged that Ning Yu's combat strength should be around the peak of the mid-stage essence immortal realm. Crack, crack, crack. Su Ming suddenly slapped his chest with his right hand, connecting the broken ribs in the blink of an eye. After such a disaster, Su Ming had to get back at him. With a flick of his wrist, a bottle of red blood appeared in his hand. Quick, stop him! Song Qing immediately shouted when he saw the bottle of red blood in Su Ming's hand. Song Qing knew very well that the red blood Su Ming took out was the blood of a peak essence immortal realm warrior. With this bottle of blood, Su Ming was very likely to activate the blood-devouring body. After the fight just now, Song Qing had to admit that Ning Yu was very strong. But no matter how strong he was, it would be very difficult for him to fight against Su Ming, who had activated the blood-devouring body. The blood of a peak essence immortal realm warrior? Ning Yu stared at the jade bottle in Su Ming's hand and didn't make any move to stop him. He had just awakened 90% of the God of War bloodline not long ago. Just as he was worrying about having no one to practice with, Su Ming immediately came knocking on his door. How could Ning Yu reject such a good offer? Therefore, not only did Ning Yu not make a move, but he even waved his hand at Song Qing, signaling him to step back. This, Ning Yu's actions caused Song Qing's mouth to open slightly. He didn't know what to say. He had seen arrogant people, but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Ningyu. Su Ming was a core disciple of the God-slaying union. Among all the core disciples of the God-slaying union, he was ranked at the top. After activating the blood-devouring body, Su Ming's strength became even more valiant. He could even fight and kill a martial artist in the late primordial immortal stage. Could it be? Could it be that Ningyu still had other trump cards? Song Qing stared at Ningyu. He wanted to see what kind of trump card Ningyu had. However, it was a pity. Ningyu stood where he was and didn't do anything. He just quietly watched Su Ming. Boom. At that moment, a terrifying aura was emitted from Su Ming's body and shot into the sky. Late stage primordial immortal stage. Although Su Ming's cultivation was still at the late stage ancestral immortal stage, the aura he emitted had reached the astonishing late stage primordial immortal stage. Ningyu is in danger. Yeah, Su Ming's combat strength has increased by at least a few times. Sigh, I thought Ningyu was a genius, but it seems like he's just an idiot. The crowd discussed fervently. However, no one was optimistic about Ningyu's chances this time. Kill him. We must kill him. God exterminating evil lord of the God exterminating sect glared at Ningyu and said fiercely. Ningyu knew that he was colluding with the heavenly demons. He definitely didn't want Ningyu to live. Moreover, Ningyu had embarrassed him in front of so many people. It was difficult for him to avenge himself, so he could only rely on Su Ming. Ah! Immortal Lord Golden Snake of the God-slaying union laughed maniacally. Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew how terrifying Su Ming was after activating the blood-devouring body. One move. She couldn't even block one of Su Ming's moves. Whoosh! On the top floor of the Shuiyu restaurant, Zheng Jiqiang was finally moved. He flashed and appeared in front of Song Qing. Song Qing said hurriedly when he saw Zheng Jiqiang, "Elder, why don't you make a move?" Song Qing was worried that Ningyu would be killed, so he asked Zheng Jiqiang for help. "Let's wait a little longer," Zheng Jiqiang said in a low voice. Although Zheng Jiqiang had the same thought as everyone else, deep down, he still had a glimmer of hope for Ningyu. And the most crucial point was, he wanted to use Ningyu to test Su Ming's true combat strength. Of course, if Ningyu was really in a dead end, he would act immediately. "It'll be too late if we wait any longer," Song Qing said anxiously. "Humph! What's wrong with you being so flustered?" Zheng Jiqiang's face turned cold. "How can I let you cultivate in the Water Moon Cave if you're like this? How are you going to carry the burden in the brilliant void meat?" But Song Qing wanted to say something, but he could only give up when he saw Zheng Jiqiang's cold expression. For the brilliant void meat, both the Water Moon Union and the God-slaying Union had paid a bloody price. The 5 geniuses participating in the brilliant void meat would receive a large amount of resources in this month. There was even a 50% chance that they would become Essence Immortals. Song Qing stared at Ningyu and could only pray for Ningyu in his heart. "Ningyu, do you dare to fight me with one punch?" After a while, when Su Ming completely activated the blood-devouring physique, he said to Ningyu coldly, "Whoever loses will have to kneel and kowtow to the other party." "I couldn't ask for more." Ningyu smiled faintly. The strength of the God of War's physique lay in its physical strength. 3 days ago, Ningyu might not have dared to fight Su Ming because his God of War's physique bloodline had only been awakened a little. But now that he had awakened 90% of the God of War's physique bloodline, he feared no one. "Eat my punch, blood-devouring fist." Upon hearing Ningyu's agreement, Su Ming rose from the ground and clenched his right fist. He gathered all the energy in his body into his fist and punched at Ningyu's head. Crack, crack, crack. That punch was so powerful that it tore the space apart. If a mid-stage Essence Immortal was unlucky enough to be hit by that punch, he would probably die on the spot. "All of you, step back." Facing Su Ming, who was charging at him, Ning Yu's expression finally turned serious. The blood of the god of war's physique flowed in his heart. Ning Yu wrapped the four essence immortal nomological laws around his right hand and threw a punch. Bam! Crack! Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu's fist collided with Su Ming's. 3 consecutive sounds were heard. Then, a blood-red mist appeared and enveloped Ning Yu and Su Ming. Bam! 3 minutes passed. A figure flew out of the red blood mist and heavily hit the ground. Fresh blood spurted out and the figure's face turned pale. Ning Yu? It's Ning Yu. He's defeated. Ha ha, Ning Yu has lost. After confirming the figure's identity, the evil Lord of God exterminating evil Lord and immortal golden snake laughed maniacally. They were excited that Ning Yu had finally lost. Chapter 2188. Huh! Everyone looked at Ning Yu in confusion. Fulfill your promise? Weren't you defeated? Why are you asking Su Ming to fulfill his promise? Even if you want to fulfill your promise, you should be the one to do it. Why is it Su Ming? Ning Yu couldn't have been beaten silly, right? That's possible. Look at his pale face and how he's spitting blood. There's something wrong with his head. What kind of logic is that? I think Ning Yu's afraid of losing face, so he's saying this to please the crowd. The martial artists around them discussed. To them, Ning Yu was the loser. This was a fact that no one could change. Even Song Qing, Sun Yongxing, and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. According to the agreement, the loser had to kneel down and kowtow to the loser. Hee, looks like you need my help. Ignoring the discussions of the crowd, Ning Yu smiled faintly and charged straight into the blood mist. Humph! I'll come out myself. As soon as Ning Yu dashed out, a cold snort came from the blood mist. Then, whoosh! A martial artist in ragged clothes appeared before everyone's eyes. Su Ming. Without a doubt, this martial artist in ragged clothes was Su Ming. At this moment, Su Ming was in a sorry state. Not only were his clothes in tatters, but his aura was also at its lowest. It would not be an exaggeration to say that even a human immortal could easily defeat Su Ming. I lost the bet. Ning Yu shrugged and said, kneel down and kowtow a few times, then I'll let you go. It wasn't that Ning Yu was being kind. Instead, he sensed that there were several terrifying auras hidden in the void. Those auras were probably from the God-slaying alliance. It was unrealistic to kill Su Ming right under their noses. I know. I lost the bet. Su Ming's eyes flickered. But I have a condition. Can I exchange it with something? Su Ming had a sense of shame. No matter what, he was still a core disciple of the God-slaying alliance and represented the God-slaying alliance. Even if he was willing to fulfill his promise and kneel before Ning Yu, the elders of the Killing God Union would not agree to it. If he forced himself to kneel before Ning Yu, what awaited him would be death. What do you want in exchange? Ning Yu folded his arms in front of his chest and looked at Su Ming with interest. To be honest, Ning Yu never expected Su Ming to have such an attitude. Su Ming's performance had exceeded his expectations. Su Ming flicked his wrist and took out 2 blood-red jade bottles. The blood of a peak essence immortal martial artist? Ning Yu frowned. That's right. It's the blood of a peak primordial immortal. Su Ming nodded and said, but it's not ordinary blood. It's their blood essence. You should know better than me how precious these 2 bottles of blood are. Given your current cultivation, if you were to refine all of it, you might even be able to charge to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. He could tell. Su Ming was extremely indignant. He had obtained these 2 bottles of blood essence from a peak essence immortal martial artist after much difficulty. He was extremely indignant about giving them to Ning Yu. However, he had no choice but to do so in order not to kneel before Ning Yu. 4 bottles. Ning Yu glanced at Su Ming, then extended 4 fingers and said, give me 4 bottles of blood essence and we'll call it even. Don't go too far. Su Ming's expression turned cold. Ningyu seemed to have grown X-ray eyes. He only had 4 bottles of blood essence left. If he gave them all to Ningyu, his status in the Killing God Union would plummet. Then you'd better kneel before me. Ningyu spread his hands, indicating that he didn't care. The appearance of several powerful auras in the air made Ningyu understand. This was no longer a simple fight between him and Su Ming. It was a contest between the Killing God Union and the Water Moon Union. Since the Water Moon Union was involved, he had to rip Su Ming off. Crack, crack, crack. Su Ming gritted his teeth in anger. However, even though he was angry, Su Ming knew that he had no other choice but to compromise. All right, the mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. We will meet again. Su Ming gritted his teeth, took out 2 more bottles of blood essence, and tossed them to Ningyu. Slap, 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 slap. Ningyu reacted quickly and firmly grabbed the 4 bottles of blood essence in his hand. Let's go, Su Ming said to Golden Snake, Immortal Lord, when he saw Ningyu accept the blood essence. God Exterminating Evil Lord followed closely behind Su Ming, wanting to leave. Wait. Ningyu waved his hand. Golden Snake Immortal Lord can leave, but God Exterminating Evil Lord has to stay. You. Su Ming looked back at Ningyu and extended his right hand, shaking with anger. Save me. God Exterminating Evil Lord knew Su Ming was his only hope. Hence, he hastily said to Su Ming, and even knelt down to hug his right leg. Just you wait and see. Su Ming's face darkened. After a moment's thought, he kicked God Exterminating Evil Lord away and hurried away. Abandoning God Exterminating Evil Lord was the best choice. Su Ming was afraid he'd become a laughingstock if he stayed. He needed to enter seclusion and get back at the brilliant Void Meat. Hong Mo, Ningyu didn't go capture God Exterminating Evil Lord himself. Instead, he signaled Hong Mo with his eyes. It was best for Hong Mo to capture God Exterminating Evil Lord and interrogate him for information. Ningyu would surely meet with the Water Moon Union's higher-ups later, so it wouldn't be convenient for him to interrogate God Exterminating Evil Lord. Hong Mo wasted no time. He took out the red demon sword and stored God Exterminating Evil Lord inside. A mid-stage virtual immortal. I can finally break through to mid-stage ancestral immortal. Hong Mo was excited. He had a good chance of breaking through to mid-stage ancestral immortal back at Tai Divine Sect. Unfortunately, Ningyu told him to leave his energy for Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, so he could only contribute silently. Now, Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were only peak golden immortals. They didn't have the ability to refine God Exterminating Evil Lord. Therefore, the entire God Exterminating Evil Lord was his. Not bad, you didn't embarrass our Water Moon Union. At that moment, Jing Jiqiang came to Ningyu's side and patted Ningyu's shoulder. Due to your performance, the Union leader of the Water Moon Union has decided to meet you personally. He has promised that your friend will join the Union and become a first-class disciple. Swoosh. Sun Yongxing and Lin Tu were overjoyed when they heard Jing Jiqiang's words. Ningyu didn't say anything. A major union like the Water Moon Union had a strict disciple division. Outer disciple, inner disciple, third-class disciple, second-class disciple, first-class disciple, and above that were core disciples. Of course, the Water Moon Union also had the position of saint, but it had never been given in recent years. The treatment of a first-class disciple in the Water Moon Union was comparable to that of an ordinary high-tier dominion. Even Sun Yongxing, the sect leader of Tai Divine Sect, could only become a second-class disciple if he joined the Water Moon Union. Chapter 2189. Please lead the way, Elder Jing. Ningyu smiled at Jing Jiqiang. Ningyu had expected the higher-ups of the Water Moon Alliance to meet him, but he hadn't expected the leader to come in person. According to Ningyu's guess, The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance was at least a peak essence immortal. She might even be a peerless immortal. Follow me. Jing Jiqiang turned and walked toward the Water-Moon restaurant. Without hesitation, Ning Yu followed Jing Jiqiang. Ning Yu knew very well that he could only meet the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. In fact, Ning Yu didn't mind meeting the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. In fact, he was looking forward to it a little. Russell. Before long, Jing Jiqiang brought Ning Yu to the top floor of the Water-Moon restaurant. The leader is in the room. Go in by yourself. I have to go back and give your friends first-class disciple tokens. Jing Jiqiang pointed to the room in front of him and left. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu pushed the door open and entered. Creak. As the door was pushed open, a figure appeared in front of Ning Yu. Her silky hair fell down vertically. Her clothes were as thin as a cicada's wings, giving off an extremely seductive feeling. Although her back was facing him, Ning Yu could guess that the woman in front of him must be devastatingly beautiful. The woman turned around. Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. Soft, willowy brows, long, bright eyes, an exquisite nose, peach cheeks, red lips, jade-like skin, and a slender figure gave off a natural and tranquil vibe. After a momentary daze, Ning Yu quickly came back to his senses. May I know why the leader is looking for me? Ning Yu asked. Ning Yu's reaction surprised the woman. Everyone who had seen her was subdued by her beauty. Even the leaders of the Gods Alliance and Gods Alliance would not be able to recover so quickly after seeing her. Not simple. In her mind, the woman evaluated Ning Yu. If the disciples of the Water-Moon League knew about this woman's evaluation of Ning Yu, they would definitely be shocked. This was because women's evaluations of the Water-Moon Alliance's core disciples were all sloppy and ordinary. The woman calmed herself and said, "Are you interested in joining the Water-Moon Alliance and becoming a core disciple? Do I have a choice?" Ning Yu smiled wryly and said, "It was all thanks to you that I was able to fight Su Ming just now." Before, Ning Yu thought that the Killing God Union's powerhouses hiding in the void did not appear because they did not want to have a conflict with the Water-Moon Union too early. But now, it seemed that it was all because of the woman before him. The elder of the Killing God Union would definitely be afraid of the chief of the Water-Moon Union. The Water-Moon Alliance has a total of 10 core disciples. The woman faintly smiled. Her red lips slightly opened and she said, "From now on, you are the 11th core disciple. It's our first time meeting and I don't have anything good to give you. I'll just give you a few essence immortal nomological laws." As she spoke, the woman flicked her sleeves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, 3 cold gleams shot out and charged towards Ning Yu. Ning Yu's expression changed slightly. The cold gleams were none other than essence, immortal nomological laws. Ning Yu knew very well that the woman was actually testing him when she said that she was giving him essence, immortal nomological laws. After all, there were only 10 core disciples in the Water-Moon Alliance. It was inevitable that others would be displeased if he became a core disciple. Great. However, Ning Yu calmed down quickly. 3 essence, immortal nomological laws were exactly what he wanted. Buzz. In order to refine the essence immortal nomological laws as soon as possible, Ning Yu activated his battle god's body. Puss. The woman could not help but gasp when she sensed the aura emanating from Ning Yu. She knew that Ning Yu had the battle god's body, but she did not expect that he had already awakened 90% of his bloodline. It was not difficult for a battle god's body that had awakened 90% of his bloodline to challenge someone who was a major realm above him. In other words, Ning Yu was currently at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm and could easily win against a late-stage essence immortal. Crack, crack, crack. As the woman was thinking, 3 cracking sounds rang in her ears. She looked over. Ning Yu swallowed the 3 essence immortal nomological laws and even burped. So fast? The woman was dumbfounded. Even the #1 core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance would need a few hours to refine 3 essence immortal nomological laws. What kind of freak was Ningyu? He only used a few minutes to refine 3 essence immortal nomological laws? Thank you, Alliance Master. After refining the essence immortal nomological laws, Ningyu cupped his fists towards the woman. It's all right. You can leave first. I'll get Jing Jiqiang to contact you. The woman waved her hand, indicating that Ningyu could leave. Ningyu cupped his fists towards the woman again before leaving the room. As soon as Ningyu left, Jing Jiqiang walked in. Get ready. The Water-Moon Pool will be opened in 7 days. All core disciples can enter to cultivate, the woman said indifferently with her back facing Jing Jiqiang. Yes. Jing Jiqiang did not dare to delay. He responded hurriedly and turned to leave. After Jing Jiqiang left, the woman murmured softly, "Brilliant void meeting. The war god body is an unknown factor." Swash. Not long after, Ningyu arrived at the room where the Hong Fiend was. What the F***ck? Ningyu's first reaction when he saw the Hong Fiend was to curse. At that moment, the Hong Fiend's cultivation had already advanced to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. How long had it been? At the very most, it had not been more than 10 minutes. In such a short period of time, the Hong Fiend had actually advanced to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. Even Ningyu felt a little ashamed of his advancement speed. Hehe, Ningyu, the god-destroying evil lord is indeed a mid-stage essence immortal. He really has a lot of energy in his body. Upon seeing Ningyu enter, the Hong Fiend chuckled. I only refined 1/10 of his energy, and my cultivation advanced from the early-stage ancestral immortal realm to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. If I refine the remaining energy, I can definitely advance to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm or even the half-step essence immortal realm. You're only at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm now, right? You have to work hard. Otherwise, my cultivation will surpass yours. Ningyu rolled his eyes. He could not be bothered to argue with the Hong Fiend about this. He went straight to the point and asked, "Did you manage to get any useful information from the god-destroying evil lord? For example, what is the relationship between the god-destroying evil lord and the heavenly fiend?" When he heard Ningyu's question, the Hong Fiend said seriously, "I did. The heavenly fiend that came into contact with the god-destroying evil lord is at the late-stage essence immortal realm. He should be at the god-destroying evil lord's residence now." Ningyu listened quietly and did not interrupt. The Hong Fiend continued, "I also received another important piece of information. There is an extremely valuable elixir pill in the god-destroying evil lord's residence. I heard that the heavenly fiend had repeatedly instructed that there must be no mistakes with that elixir." "What elixir pill?" Ningyu's heart stirred as he asked. "I don't know the exact name, but it seems to be one of the 9 elixir pills. It's a clone elixir pill. In short, it's a mess." The Hong Fiend thought about it and said, "Swish." The speaker did not mean it, but the listener did. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The Emperor Immortal Pill's clone elixir. The reason why he could awaken his bloodline power to 90% was because of the transformation elixir he obtained from the heavenly fiend's heart. And that elixir pill was one of the 9 clones of the Emperor Immortal Pill. Chapter 2190. To God-Destroying Evil Lord's Residence. At the thought of this, Ningyu made a prompt decision to head to God-Destroying Evil Lord's residence to snatch the elixir. The doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal Pill was worth his while. After all, if he obtained another doppelganger elixir, he might completely awaken the bloodline of the war god body. Moreover, snatching the elixir was not only beneficial to him, but it could also suppress Di Wentian. Di Wentian was refining the Emperor Immortal Pill, and if he succeeded, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Are we going now?" Red Devil was slightly startled. Give me some more time, I will be able to advance to the late ancestral immortal stage. Advance my ass, let's go. Ningyu kicked Red Devil's butt. Lead the way, any delay will lead to changes. To be honest, Ningyu was a little worried. God-destroying evil lord and Golden Snake seemed to have a good relationship. Perhaps immortal monarch Golden Snake knew about the elixir in his mansion. Compared to the 3 elemental immortal laws from Water-Moon Alliance leader, Ningyu was more inclined to the doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal Pill. Swish, swish. Under Red Devil's lead, Ningyu and the rest quickly arrived at God-destroying evil lord's residence. However, Ningyu didn't foolishly show his true face. Instead, he disguised himself. There's someone inside. As soon as he stopped, Ningyu's expression turned slightly solemn. With his keen senses, he could naturally sense that there were several terrifying auras in God-destroying evil lord's residence. 2 late elemental immortals, 3 intermediate elemental immortals. There was even a peak elemental immortal expert. Be careful. Ningyu took a deep breath, then carefully entered God-destroying evil lord's residence. Although he had obtained 3 elemental immortal laws from Water-Moon Alliance leader, it was still difficult for Ningyu to fight against a peak elemental immortal expert with his current combat strength. Therefore, this operation was destined to not be simple. Hand over the elixir and I will spare your life. At the same time, in a secret room not far from Ningyu and Red Devil, several groups of people were confronting each other. There were 6 people in the secret room. Experts at the peak of the Essence Immortal Realm formed their own faction. The remaining 2 were at the late-stage Essence Immortal stage and the mid-stage Essence Immortal stage. They were split into 2 factions. Each faction had a late-stage Essence Immortal and a mid-stage Essence Immortal. However, one of them even had an Ancestor Immortal late-stage martial artist. If Ningyu were here, he would definitely realize that he knew this late-stage ancestral immortal warrior. It was none other than Su Ming. The martial artist who spoke was Su Ming. He stared coldly at the peak essence immortal martial artist and said in a low voice, "You can't protect that elixir by yourself. I do want to hand over the pill, but there are 2 groups of people here. Who should I give the pill to?" The peak stage essence immortal martial artist smirked, and said indifferently, "Why don't I split the elixir in half and split it between your sects?" Humph! Stop trying to sow discord here. Su Ming snorted. "We're all from the Brilliant Void Alliance, and you're a heavenly demon. Since you dared to cause trouble in Tianxing City, you're doomed. Do it." As he spoke, Su Ming took out a red jade bottle from his robes and popped it into his mouth. Buzz. As the red jade bottle entered his mouth, Su Ming's aura rose rapidly. In a short time, Su Ming's aura reached a terrifying peak late-stage essence immortal. Hee, if you want the elixir, you can come and get it." The peak stage essence immortal martial artist was not worried. He smiled and said, "I'll just stand here and see if you have the ability." He seems to have a well-thought-out plan. In the void, the Red Fiend frowned, feeling a little puzzled. Logically speaking, this was Tianxing City. No matter how powerful a peak stage essence immortal heavenly demon was, he should not be so calm. On Su Ming's side, there were 3 late-stage essence immortal martial artists and 2 mid-stage essence immortal martial artists, including himself. Although it would be difficult for this force to defeat the heavenly demon would not be able to escape easily either. As for Su Ming and the others, they just needed to stall for time until the leader of the Gods Alliance or the Gods Alliance arrived. The peak stage essence immortal heavenly demon would die without a doubt. Nonsense. Of course he's confident. If it were you, you'd be confident too, Ningyu said grumpily. The heavenly demon had the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone elixir. This was where his confidence came from. Everyone had their own selfish motives. Su Ming and the other Essence Immortals were no exception. They were all thinking of taking the elixir for themselves. As for calling the Alliance leader over? What a joke. Only a fool would do that. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. Just as Ningyu said, to avoid attracting attention, Su Ming and the God's Alliance people even set up an array around the secret room to prevent them from being discovered. The peak stage essence, immortal heavenly demon, was not anxious at all. He fought with Su Ming and the others while waiting for something. Are more heavenly demons coming? Ning Yu's expression changed slightly. He said to the Red Fiend, "Watch me later." No problem. The Red Fiend was not stupid. He knew what to do and what not to do. Poochie. Although the peak primordial immortal heavenly demon was a Buddha-like attack, the two mid-stage primordial immortal martial artists on Su Ming's side could not withstand it and were sent flying several feet away. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The auras of these two mid-stage primordial immortal martial artists had fallen to rock bottom, and they had lost their ability to fight. Just like that, Ning Yu and the Red Fiend waited quietly. Inside the secret chamber, Su Ming and the other two late-stage primordial immortal martial artists gave it their all, but they still couldn't defeat the heavenly demon. We can't go on like this. Since everyone wants the pills, why don't we let go of our former enmity and go all out? Let's defeat the heavenly demons first. Su Ming said in a low voice after forcing back the heavenly demon with one move. I agree. No problem. The other two late-stage primordial immortal martial artists agreed. Rumble. It was time to go all out. The two late-stage essence immortal martial artists did not hesitate to burn their blood essence and life force to increase their strength. In an instant, they raised their auras to the peak of the primordial immortal realm. Su Ming, on the other hand, took out a few more jade bottles and tossed them into his mouth. Boom. As the jade bottles entered his mouth, Su Ming's aura soared to the peak of the primordial immortal realm. A peerless immortal's blood essence? Ning Yu's pupils constricted when he sensed the fluctuations of Su Ming's aura. It was difficult for Su Ming to raise his aura to the peak of the primordial immortal realm by relying on the blood essence of a peak primordial immortal martial artist alone. There was only one explanation for this situation. The blood essence Su Ming had devoured was at least a peerless immortal, or a half-step peerless immortal. Damn it! Why isn't it here yet? The peak primordial immortal heavenly demon was finally moved. He couldn't help but curse, then raised the pill above his head and yelled, "Stop! Stop right now, or I'll destroy it!" Destroy it? Su Ming said sinisterly, "We've already set up an array around it. Even if you destroy it, we can gather it again." A peak primordial immortal heavenly demon should be able to exchange a lot of merit points from the Hall of Merit. It's worth it. It's a buy one get one free deal. Chapter 2191. Fine. You forced me to do this. Don't regret it. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon clenched his fists, then exerted force in his right hand and threw the pill far away. Open! When he threw the pill, the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon opened his mouth and spat out a cold beam. Crack! The cold beam was faster than the pill. It opened the array that Su Ming and the others had set up before the pill did. Swoosh! The pill instantly disappeared from Su Ming and the others' sight through the opening. You have a death wish! Seeing the pill fly away, Su Ming and the other two martial artists' expressions turned ferocious. We'll meet again. After throwing the pill, the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon waved at Su Ming and the others, then tore open the void and went in. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon burned his blood essence to block Su Ming and the others' blockade for only a second before it was completely blasted apart. After him. Su Ming was furious. He had no time to think. He immediately went into the void and gave chase. Su Ming and the other two late-stage virtual immortal martial artists made the same choice. They chased after the heavenly demon, not the pill. In their opinion, the pill thrown by the heavenly demon was definitely fake. As long as they could capture the heavenly demon, wouldn't the pill be a piece of cake? Of course. Ningyu, who was hidden in the void, had a different opinion from Su Ming. He had seen the clone of the Emperor Immortal pill before. He sensed a familiar aura from the pill that the heavenly demon had thrown out. As expected, the pill that the heavenly demon had thrown out was the clone of the Emperor Immortal pill. I threw the pill towards the west of Tianxing City. Now I'll distract these troublemakers. You're in charge of taking the pill away and giving it to Master. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon used a secret technique to communicate with someone as he fled. Got it. An almost undetectable voice rang in the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon's ears. Upon hearing this reply, the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon revealed a relieved expression. As long as the pill was safe, he could deal with Su Ming and the others without worry. What the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon did not notice was that in the west of Tianxing City, two figures were tearing open the void and chasing after the pill. That's right. These two figures were Ning Yu and Hong Mo. With his keen senses and the fact that he had seen the doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal pill, Ning Yu could tell that the heavenly demon had thrown out the elixir he was looking for. There seems to be someone there. Suddenly, Hong Mo's expression changed slightly as he said in a deep voice, "Do you want me to distract him while you chase after the pill? There's no need. We'll have to fight him one day." Ningyu saw it more clearly. Ningyu even knew that the person who was advancing at full speed with him, not far away, was a heavenly demon. The reason why that heaven demon didn't stop was because this place was rather close to the Stellar Sky City. He was afraid that if he made a move here, it would cause unnecessary trouble. It was very unfortunate. Ningyu had the same thoughts as him. Swish, swish, swish. That was all. Ningyu, the Red Fiend, the Heavenly Fiend, and the Elixir Pill moved forward at full speed. When they were a certain distance away from Stellar Sky City, the three parties stopped at the same time. Gotcha! The void cracked and Ning Yu and the Heavenly Demon appeared at the same time. Are you guys going to commit suicide or should I do it? The Heavenly Demon wasn't too old and was only a little older than Ning Yu. However, his cultivation level had reached the shocking early-stage essence immortal realm. It was obvious that this young heavenly demon was a peerless genius in the heavenly demon race. However, Ning Yu didn't care about the young heavenly demon's identity. He said indifferently, "I want the elixir pill. I want you too." Arrogant. The young heavenly demon bellowed and immediately rose from the ground, charging towards Ning Yu. Humph. Looking at the young heavenly demon that was charging towards him, Ning Yu snorted coldly. He didn't make any move to block, but instructed Hong Mo to fuse with the Red Fiend sword. Ning Yu knew very well that the young heavenly demon would definitely turn his head to collect the elixir pill that was floating in midair. It was just as Ning Yu had expected. When the young heavenly demon was only a few steps away from Ning Yu, he suddenly turned his head and charged towards the elixir pill. Luckily, I'm prepared. Ning Yu's lips curled up slightly as he suddenly threw out the Red Fiend sword. The Red Fiend sword was very fast and actually arrived beside the elixir pill before the young heavenly demon. Damn it! The young heavenly demon cursed when he saw the flying sword that suddenly appeared in front of him. The Red Fiend didn't disappoint Ning Yu. Under his control, the Red Fiend sword swallowed the elixir pill. Hand over the elixir pill. The young heavenly demon roared crazily. If he couldn't bring the elixir pill away, he would definitely be killed by Di Wentian. In order to survive, he had to use all his strength to snatch the elixir pill back. This elixir pill was an important part of the Emperor Immortal pill. The Emperor Immortal pill had 9 doppelgangers, and this one was refined in Stellar Sky City. This was because the special ingredients needed to refine this elixir pill could only be found in Stellar Sky City. For this, they spared no expense to instigate the god-destroying evil lord. After paying such a huge price, they finally managed to refine the doppelganger pill. If it was snatched away by someone else, how could Di Wentian spare him? Young man, don't be so hot-tempered. Ningyu leaped out and stood in front of the young heavenly demon. He said indifferently, "What are the benefits of following Di Wentian? Why don't you submit to me? You're courting death." The young heavenly demon was flustered and exasperated. He immediately launched a powerful attack at Ningyu. Bang! However, the young heavenly demon was only at the early stage essence immortal realm. No matter how talented he was, it was difficult for him to be Ningyu's match. One punch. With just one punch, Ningyu defeated the young heavenly demon. Ningyu used the war god body and 7 essence immortal nomological laws for this punch. One had to go all out against an enemy. Let me ask you a few questions. Ningyu did not kill the young heavenly demon. Instead, he stepped on his chest with his right foot and said, "If you can answer me honestly, I can consider sparing your life." Sparing my life? Ah! The young heavenly demon laughed maniacally. Don't be too smug. To tell you the truth, the heavenly demon army will attack Tianxing City soon. By then, all of you will die. Since you are courting death, I can only fulfill your wish. Ningyu exerted a little force with his right foot and instantly broke the young heavenly demon's neck. At the same time, Ningyu opened the red fiend sword and stored the young heavenly demon inside. Although the young heavenly demon was only at the early stage essence immortal realm, his body contained a lot of energy. If the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu devoured him, they should be able to advance to the ancestral immortal realm. Swish! The red fiend came out of the red fiend's sword and threw the pill to Ningyu. But, catching the pill firmly, Ningyu released his perception and observed it carefully. A moment later, Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. This pill is of a higher quality than the one I obtained from the heavenly demon's heart previously. Ningyu was extremely satisfied. With this pill, he would definitely be able to advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm or even a half-step essence immortal. However, Ningyu had already made arrangements. He wanted to make use of this pill to completely awaken the war god body bloodline. Chapter 2192. Let's go back to Tianxing City. After accepting the elixir, Ningyu's figure flashed and immediately flashed towards Tianxing City. Ningyu was no fool. He obtained the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone pill, which was extremely precious. Di Wentian would definitely send people to search for it soon. There was still some distance between this place and Tianxing City. Ningyu did not want to fight the experts sent by Di Wentian here. To him, the most important thing was to hurry back to Tianxing City and use the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone pill to awaken the divine body of war bloodline. As for other matters, they had nothing to do with him for now. Swoosh! Since Ningyu had left, Hong Mo naturally would not stay. He followed closely behind Ningyu and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Crack! Not long after Ningyu and Hong Mo disappeared, the void suddenly broke, and 2 figures appeared. If Ningyu knew that someone was coming, he would definitely feel very lucky. Because the 2 figures that appeared were both peak stage essence immortals. Given Ningyu and Hong Mo's strength, it was already very difficult to deal with one peak stage essence immortal martial artist, let alone 2. We're a step too late. One of the slightly plump martial artists frowned slightly. He looked around and said, "The pill should have been taken away." The other slightly thinner martial artist had an ugly expression. He said in a low voice, "It'll take more than 10 minutes to reach Tianxing City from here even at full speed. Why don't we give chase?" After thinking about it, the slightly plump martial artist shook his head. "It's too late. Since they didn't stop, it means that they're already prepared. Even if we give chase now, it'll be too late. Then what should we do? We have to do something. Otherwise, Master will." The slightly thinner martial artist hesitated. "What are you panicking for?" The The slightly plump martial artist reprimanded. We weren't responsible for the pill in Tianxing City. Even if Master knows, he won't blame us. But for safety's sake, we still have to go to Tianxing City and pretend. Swoosh, swoosh. They immediately tore open the void and entered. Time passed. More than 10 minutes later, they stopped 3,000 meters away from Tianxing City. They were different from the heavenly demon Su Ming had been chasing. The reason the heavenly demon Su Ming was chasing could stay in Tianxing City was because he had an aura-concealing artifact that Di Wentian had given him. But they didn't. A distance of 3,000 meters was the limit. Any closer and he might be discovered by the peerless immortals in the city. We'll wait here for a while and capture a few human warriors to report back. The slightly plump martial artist had a clear train of thought. The only way to prove that they had been here was to capture a few human warriors and bring them back. Voila! Not long after, 3 figures approached from afar and gradually appeared in front of the slightly plump martial artist and the other 2. The 3 martial artists that were rushing over did not surprise the slightly plump martial artist. However, one of the martial artists was carrying a person that shocked the slightly plump martial artist. The peak stage primordial immortal skyfiend that Di Wentian had arranged to be in Stellar Sky City was the person in charge of the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone. How did he get caught? The slightly plump martial artist's eyes flickered as he struggled internally. To save him or not to save him? That was the question. If they saved him, they were very close to Tianxing City, and the danger level was high. If they didn't, Di Wentian would know that they were not going to save him. Therefore, the slightly plump martial artist had no other choice. How unlucky! Su Ming and the other 2 late-stage virtual immortals did not know about the heavenly demon hiding in the void. They were furious. They had gone through so much trouble to chase a peak virtual immortal heavenly demon, but in the end they had not obtained the pill. The only thing that comforted them was that they had captured a peak virtual immortal heavenly demon. Otherwise, it would have been a wasted effort. What do we do with him? The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance said in a low voice, I think we should kill him and split his corpse into 2 parts, 1 for each of us. 1 for each of us? Su Ming raised an eyebrow. There are 3 of us. Even if we each get 1, we should split the corpse into 3 parts. Why 2? You 2 are from the Gods' Alliance, and I'm from the Gods' Alliance. The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance shrugged and said, My method of distribution couldn't be better. Don't spout nonsense here. Su Ming snorted. If you piss me off, you won't even get 1 part. However, before Su Ming could finish his cold words, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. What's going on? The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance was confused. However, opportunities always came to those who were prepared. Not long after Su Ming and the Gods' Alliance retreated, the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance was hit by a fist that came out of the void. His head was smashed on the spot, and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Heavenly demon! Su Ming stared at the plump and thin martial artists in the void, and his heart sank to the bottom. Su Ming's keen senses could naturally tell that the plump and thin martial artists were both peak virtual immortals. They had just gone through a huge battle, and now, the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance was killed. How could they fight against a heavenly demon that had suddenly appeared? However, Su Ming's reaction was swift. He grabbed Anda's neck and said coldly, Don't come any closer. If you take another step forward, I'll kill him. Su Ming knew very well that someone had come to intercept them at this time for the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon they had captured. As long as the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon was in their hands, he and the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance would be safe. As expected, the plump and thin martial artists stopped when they saw Su Ming restraining Anda. Let him go, and I'll spare your lives. The plump martial artist's face darkened. Otherwise, I'll kill you even if Anda dies in battle. Deal. Su Ming agreed to the plump martial artist's request without a second thought. Although this place was close to Tianxing City, the two heavenly demons before him were confident that they could kill him before the peerless immortals received the news and came here. Su Ming didn't want to take the risk, so he suggested, "How about this? Sun Mao will be your hostage, and Anda will be mine. I'll leave Sun Mao behind, and I'll take Anda to Tianxing City. We'll stop 1,000 meters away from the city. When the time comes, we'll both let go. Sun Mao will rush to Tianxing City, and Anda will go to you. What do you think?" The plump martial artist frowned. Although he felt that something was off, the current situation didn't allow him to think too much. Thus, after a moment's thought, the plump martial artist said in a low voice, "Deal. Sun Mao, I'll have to trouble you for now." Chapter 2193. Su Ming quickly crossed the 2,000 meters. Su Ming did not go back on his word. When he was 1,000 meters away from the stellar sky city, he chose to stop. "So your name is Anda?" Su Ming smirked. He looked at the heavenly demon and said eerily, "Heavenly demons are stupid creatures indeed. I didn't get the pill, but I can enjoy you alone. That's not too bad." Swoosh. As he spoke, Su Ming grabbed Anda and entered Tianxing City without looking back. Crack, crack, crack. In the distance, when the plump martial artist saw Su Ming leaving with Anda, he clenched his fists in anger, making cracking sounds. Crack. Enraged, he punched Sun Mao, who was in front of him. The late-stage virtual immortal Sun Mao's head was blown off, and he died on the spot. "Take their corpses and leave." The plump martial artist glared at Tianxing City, then tore through the void and entered. Next to him, the skinny martial artist waved his hand and grabbed Sun Mao and the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance into a spatial artifact. Then, he followed the plump martial artist and left. Boom. Ningyu did not know what happened outside Tianxing City. After returning to Tianxing City, Ningyu immediately immersed himself in cultivation. Of course, Ningyu's cultivation was not to break through to the peak ancestral immortal realm, but to awaken the divine body of war bloodline. In the room of Shuiyu restaurant, Ningyu swallowed the pill he obtained and activated his mental cultivation method to devour it. As he activated his mental cultivation method, the pill gradually disintegrated. Terrifying energy surged in Ningyu's body. Ningyu seized the opportunity to activate the divine body of war bloodline in his body and forcibly awaken the bloodline. Ningyu had already awakened 90% of the divine body of war bloodline. Logically speaking, the last 10% was the hardest to awaken. When he first awakened the first 10% of the divine body of war bloodline, Ningyu used a pill. Now that he had awakened the last 10% of the divine body of war bloodline, Ningyu still prepared a pill. After all, the two elixirs that Ningyu had prepared were no ordinary elixirs. They were the doppelgangers of the Emperor Immortal Pill. The value of each pill was immeasurable. Drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. Awakening the last 10% of the bloodline was not something that could be done overnight. One day later, Ningyu was still cultivating in seclusion. 3 days later, Ningyu was still cultivating in seclusion. Until the 7th day. Boom. A terrifying aura suddenly rushed out from Ningyu's room. However, this aura disappeared in a flash and very quickly it disappeared. At this moment, Zheng Jiqiang and Song Qing looked at each other outside the room. They could see the extreme shock in each other's eyes. They could never have imagined it. In 7 days, Ningyu's strength actually had a qualitative leap again. At this rate, what would happen when Ningyu cultivated in the water moon pool for a period of time? The vacant successor position of the water moon alliance might be taken by Ningyu. Creak. Calming himself down, Ningyu opened the door and walked out. Old Zheng? Song Qing? Seeing the two figures standing outside the room, Ningyu asked in confusion, "What's the matter?" "Haha, congratulations on your improvement." Zheng Jiqiang smiled and said, "For the brilliant void meeting in 20 days, the Alliance Master has decided to open the Water Moon Pool for all core disciples to cultivate." Water Moon Pool? Ningyu frowned slightly. Zheng Jiqiang explained, "Generally speaking, as long as your talent is not too low, your cultivation level will increase by 1 level after cultivating in the Water Moon Pool for 20 days. "I see." Ningyu nodded. "There's no time to lose. Let's go now." Zheng Jiqiang moved and walked downstairs. Ningyu did not ask and followed closely behind Zheng Jiqiang. As for the Hong Fiend, Ningyu did not choose to bring him along. Even if Ningyu shouted, the Hong Fiend would probably not go. At that moment, the Hong Fiend was refining the remaining energy of the god-destroying evil lord with all his might to break through to the mid-stage or even late-stage ancestral immortal realm. The Hong Fiend knew his own limits. The Water Moon Pool was filled with core disciples of the Water Moon Alliance. If he went, he would definitely be a burden to Ningyu. Sha. Following Zheng Jiqiang through a few streets, Ningyu and the others finally stopped in front of a luxurious palace. Water Moon Alliance. Raising his head and looking at the 3 huge words above the palace, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The person who wrote those words was definitely at least at the peak of the essence immortal realm. This was written by the number 1 core disciple, Xiao Yi. As though sensing Ningyu's doubts, Zheng Jiqiang explained, "When you see Xiao Yi later, I hope you don't get into a conflict with him. Xiao Yi has a weird personality." It would be weird if he didn't have a weird personality. Ningyu nodded his head in agreement on the surface. However, he was thinking to himself, who would call himself a midnight snack? Is he hungry every night? That's weird. Shaking his head, Ningyu entered the luxurious palace with Zheng Jiqiang and the others. The palace was bustling with people. Sensing the auras that these people exuded, Ningyu's expression turned grim. Everyone present was at the essence immortal realm. Only he and Song Qing were at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. Whoosh! When they saw Ningyu and the others enter, the surrounding martial artists turned their gazes over. "He's the 11th core disciple? I heard that the Alliance Chief personally appointed him as the 11th core disciple. I wonder what he's capable of." "He's definitely capable. Otherwise, why would he be here?" "If I'm not wrong, the Alliance Chief is going to open the Water Moon Pool today. He should be here to head over there. There's going to be a good show." Just now, the Alliance Chief personally ordered that only 10 people are allowed to enter the Water Moon Pool. Don't underestimate Ningyu. In front of the Water Moon restaurant, Ningyu defeated the mid-stage essence immortal evil lord, the god-destroying evil lord. Someone reminded them kindly. However, it was clear that no one cared about the reminder. They passed through the crowd. Before long, Ningyu, Zheng Jiqiang, and the others entered a large hall. There weren't many people in the hall. Including Ningyu, Zheng Jiqiang and the others, there were only 13 of them. Of the remaining 10 people, 9 were core disciples. The last one was the Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance. Today, the Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance did not show her face. Instead, she covered her face with a veil. "Since everyone is here, I'll explain the rules." The Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance waved her hand casually and closed the door of the hall. "Only 10 people are allowed to enter the Water Moon Pool to cultivate. Therefore, 1 out of the 11 of you has to be abandoned. I won't interfere with your choice. I'll leave the next hour to you. You can choose who will be abandoned." After saying that, the Alliance Chief leaped up and sat down on a stone chair not far away. Swish! Instantly, everyone shifted their gaze to Ningyu. At this time, even if the core disciples had grievances in the past, they would unite against the outsiders. After all, Ningyu was an outsider who had only joined the core disciples recently. They probably didn't need to say who would be expelled. Everyone knew who would be expelled. However, there was an exception. Song Qing's eyes flickered. He didn't join the other 9 core disciples. He quietly stood with Ningyu. Obviously. Chapter 2194. Song Qing, you should know what you're doing. If your head isn't rusty, please don't do anything stupid. Among the 9 core disciples, a cultivator in blue robes, who was about 20 years old, said, "The water moon pond only has a total of 10 spots. If you want to protect Ningyu, then we can only apologize to you." The martial artist who spoke was He Hui, ranked 8th among the core disciples of the Water Moon League. Initially, He Hui had always been respectful when he met Song Qing and did not dare to be too arrogant. After all, Song Qing was ranked 3rd among the core disciples. But now, with the support of the other core disciples, He Hui was much more confident. He looked at Song Qing coldly and said sinisterly, "We'll give you 5 minutes to think. After 5 minutes, we'll decide whether you or Ningyu will be eliminated." After saying that, He Hui crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ningyu with interest. He Hui did not know much about Ningyu. He only knew that Ningyu defeated the God-exterminating evil lord of the God-exterminating sect and gained the upper hand against Su Ming of the God-exterminating alliance. Rumors. Ningyu was very strong. However, as the saying goes, seeing is believing. He Hui did not think that Ningyu was very strong. After all, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. Song Qing's eyes flickered when he heard He Hui's words. No one knew what he was thinking. Song Qing's decision to help Ningyu was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but after careful consideration. The other core disciples did not see it, but he saw it clearly. Even though Su Ming used blood-devouring body, he was still defeated by Ningyu. A moment later, Song Qing took a step forward and said coldly, "The 10 spots to enter the water moon pool are easy to determine. Whoever is last will be eliminated." Swoosh. Instantly, the expressions of the core disciples changed. The core disciples who changed their expressions were ranked at the bottom. If it was really like what Song Qing said, they would be the ones with the highest chances of being eliminated through a martial arts competition. Whoosh. Therefore, these martial artists turned their gazes to He Hui, wanting him to stand up for them. He Hui enjoyed everyone's gazes very much. Humph. He snorted coldly and said angrily, "Song Qing, don't be shameless. Today, I'll make it clear that the person who was abandoned was either you or Ningyu. Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror? Who do you think you are?" He Hui's lips curled into a smile as he continued, "If you know what's good for you, get the hell out of here. One less person entering the water moon pond means we'll be able to get more energy." At first, Ningyu did not say anything. This was because Ningyu felt that he was, after all, a new core disciple. Saying too much would only cause unnecessary trouble. But now, Ningyu finally understood. Whether he spoke or not, he would be ostracized. Even Song Qing, who had helped him, was ostracized by many core disciples. Ningyu was fine, but Song Qing suffered. Under such circumstances, Ningyu naturally decided to fight back. Shrugging, Ningyu turned to look at Song Qing and asked doubtfully, "What's wrong recently? Why are there flies buzzing in my ears?" Song Qing was also holding back his anger. Hearing Ningyu's words, he echoed, "The weather hasn't been good recently, so there are more flies. It might be better after a while." Flies are always annoying." Ningyu sighed. "What did you say?" He Hui's eyes were about to pop. He glared at Ningyu and said angrily, "Say it again if you have the guts." "Song Qing, did you hear that? It seems there are flies buzzing again." Ningyu deliberately put his hand to his ear and said with a slightly exaggerated expression, "I'm so angry." Before Song Qing could answer, He Hui stepped on the ground and rushed toward Ningyu. At this moment, He Hui was very angry. He Hui only had one thought in his mind. He wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know that he had to pay the price for being arrogant. Seeing He Hui rushing toward Ningyu, the rest of the core disciples had different thoughts in their mind. The core disciples with a higher ranking didn't care. They just wanted to see Ningyu's strength. As for the core disciples with a lower ranking, they focused on the battlefield. When two tigers fought, one of them would definitely lose. It didn't matter if Ningyu lost or if He Hui lost. In short, as long as one of them lost, the person who would be kicked out would be determined. So annoying. Looking at He Hui, who was constantly rushing toward him, Ningyu rolled his eyes. He clenched his right fist and punched out casually. Bang! In an instant, Ningyu's fist collided with He Hui's fist. A crisp sound was heard. Then, He Hui was like a kite with a broken string, falling backward in a straight line. Gotcha! He only stopped when he smashed into the ground and a few of his ribs were broken. Poochie! He Hui spat out fresh blood and his aura plummeted from late-stage ancestor immortal to freezing point. He Hui supported himself with one hand and wanted to stand up. However, he realized that he had no energy left and fell to the ground once more. He pointed at Ningyu with much difficulty and said viciously, "How dare you injure me? Idiot!" Ningyu glanced at He Hui, who was on the ground, before retracting his gaze. Ningyu felt that it was a little degrading to speak to an idiot like He Hui. What did he mean by injuring you? I nearly crippled you and now you're asking such a stupid question? You're really strong. At that moment, over at the side of the core disciples, a young martial artist in purple robes walked forward slowly. He looked at Ningyu and said, "It's not unjust that He Hui was injured by you. He can only blame himself for not recognizing you and offending you." Ningyu did not say anything and merely looked at the martial artist in purple robes. Ningyu could tell that the martial artist in purple robes was implying something. As expected. Following that, the martial artist in purple robes changed the topic and said coldly, "However, you're a new core disciple. Not only are you disrespectful to a senior core disciple, you even injured him. I'll have to teach you a lesson. Kneel down and admit your mistake." The aura of the martial artist in purple robes burst forth and pressed down on Ningyu. "Xiao Mao, don't go overboard." As though he was afraid that Ningyu would get into a conflict with the martial artist in purple robes, Song Qing said hurriedly, "He Hui asked for it. You, don't talk to me about this." Xiao Mao waved his hand and interrupted Song Qing. "My patience is limited. Unless Ningyu kneels down and kowtows in apology, this matter will not end here." Ha ha ha! At the side, He Hui could not help but raise his head and laugh. With Xiao Mao's appearance, He Hui immediately became excited. Xiao Mao was ranked second among the core disciples, one rank higher than Song Qing. If Xiao Mao and Ningyu fought, He Hui did not think that Ningyu would win. At the thought of Ningyu kneeling down and kowtowing in apology, He Hui was in a good mood. Even. Chapter 2195. Are you sure you didn't get kicked in the head by a donkey? Ningyu looked at Xiao Mao with a flabbergasted expression. I'm very curious. With your intelligence, how did you survive until now? You have a death wish. Xiao Mao had never been bullied like this before. As Xiao Ye's younger brother, he was treated like a superior in the Water Moon Alliance and even in Sky Star City. Usually, even late-stage Essence Immortal and Peak Essence Immortal elders would be very respectful when they saw him. Who would have thought that a mere late-stage Ancestral Immortal, Ningyu, would dare to mock him like that? This was intolerable. Swoosh! Xiao Mao rose from the ground and turned into an afterimage that rushed out rapidly. Compared to He Hui, Xiao Mao's cultivation was higher and he was at the peak Ancestral Immortal realm. He was even stronger, and ordinary late-stage essence, immortal martial artists, were no match for him. Therefore, when he saw Xiao Mao attack, even Song Qing hurriedly reminded, "Ning Yu, be careful." "Be careful? Humph, there's no use being careful after offending me." Xiao Mao harumphed coldly and flicked his wrist, summoning a flying sword. 7-kill sword. Xiao Mao's flying sword was called the 7-kill sword, and it was of an extremely high grade. Xiao Mao is angry. Isn't that so? Xiao Mao has never used the 7-kill sword when he sparred with others. Ning Yu is very strong. It's worth it for Xiao Mao to use the 7-kill sword. The core disciples discussed fervently. The 7-kill sword was very famous. Previously, the owner of the 7-kill sword was Xiao Yi. Ever since Xiao Yi advanced to the essence immortal realm, the 7-kill sword was wielded by his younger brother, Xiao Mao. Rumor had it that when Xiao Ye's cultivation was at the peak ancestral immortal realm, he used the 7-kill sword to kill a peak essence immortal heavenly demon. From then on, the 7-kill sword became famous in the entire Sky Star City. 7-kill sword? Ning Yu's expression turned serious. He sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the 7-kill sword. The grade of the 7-kill sword should have reached the level of an ingot. Looking at the Alliance leader of the Water Moon Alliance, who was resting on a stone chair far away, Ning Yu had an idea. He wrapped the 4 essence immortal laws around his wrist, and threw a punch. Ding! In a split second, Ning Yu's fist collided with the 7-kill sword. 4 essence immortal nomological laws quietly wrapped around the 7-kill sword and came to the hilt of the 7-kill sword. In an instant, Xiao Mao felt a sharp pain in his wrist. He could not help but throw the 7-kill sword away. Xiao! Ning Yu reacted quickly. When the 7-kill sword was thrown out, he moved quickly and firmly grasped it in his hand. It really is Yuan Bao. Feeling the aura emanating from the 7-kill sword in his hand, Ning Yu thought to himself. The grade of the 7-kill sword was slightly higher than the Red Demon sword. The Red Demon sword was an ancestral treasure, while the 7-kill sword was an ingot. "Give me back my 7-kill sword." Xiao Mao clenched his fists and said viciously to Ning Yu. The reason why Xiao Mao did not take the initiative to attack and snatch the 7-kill sword back was because there were still 4 essence immortal nomological laws on his wrist. Obviously, these 4 essence immortal nomological laws were left behind by Ning Yu. Xiao Mao was busy resisting the essence immortal nomological laws on his wrist, and did not have the time to snatch the 7-kill sword. "It's not impossible if you want the 7-kill sword." Ning Yu waved the flying sword in his hand and said lightly, "As you said, kneel down and kowtow to apologize." Swoosh! When Ning Yu said this, all the martial artists in the hall looked at him in shock. Even Jing Jiqiang, who had not left yet, had a surprised look on his face. One had to know, Xiao Mao was different from He Hui. Xiao Mao was Xiao Ye's biological younger brother. It was fine to offend He Hui. After all, he did not have any backing. However, offending Xiao Mao was equivalent to offending Xiao Yi. Who was Xiao Yi? Among the younger generation of the entire Sky Star City, only the exceptional geniuses of the God-slaying Alliance and the Gods' Alliance could slightly compete with him. What did you say? Try saying it again? Xiao Mao could not believe his ears. He stared at Ning Yu and asked, "It seems that not only are you weak, but there's also something wrong with your ears." Ning Yu shrugged his shoulders and said, "Kneel down and kowtow to apologize to me, and I will consider returning the 7-kill sword to you." Xiao Mao was so angry that he gritted his teeth and raised his head to let out a hysterical roar. He was furious. He had never been as furious as he was at that moment. "It's over, it's over." Song Qing's heart sank to the bottom. Although he knew that Ning Yu was strong, he was definitely much weaker than that freak Xiao Yi. He had to pay the price for offending Xiao Yi today. Interesting, I wonder if he can force Xiao Yi to show his true strength. Under his thin shirt, The alliance leader of the Water Moon Alliance curled his lips slightly and said with interest, Xiao Ye's growth is really too fast. Given time, I reckon he can be the alliance leader. Swoosh. This time, everyone did not look at Ningyu but at Xiao Yi. Are we still going to make a move? Under everyone's gaze, Xiao Yi was slightly helpless. In fact, when Jing Jiqiang brought Ningyu over, he had already guessed that the alliance leader wanted him to test Ningyu. It was said to test Ningyu, but in fact it was to test him. This was because the alliance leader had asked him more than once what level his strength had reached. Xiao Yi knew very well. The alliance leader wanted to pass the alliance leader position to him. After all, the Brilliant Void Conference would be held in a while. At that time, all the major alliances would be cancelled. The original major alliances would become the palace, and he would be appointed as the palace master of the Water Moon Palace. To be honest, Xiao Yi did not want to be the palace master. To him, the most important thing was to kill the heavenly demon, not to stay and fight with the other major alliances for power. Ningyu, as long as you can take 3 punches from me, today's matter will be written off. Xiao Yi moved her feet and took a step forward. She said to Ningyu, if you cannot receive it, then please leave. Deal. Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the 7-kill sword to Xiao Yi. At the same time, the essence immortal laws that were wrapped around Xiao Mao's wrist were also retracted. In the entire hall, the only ones that made Ningyu feel pressured were the alliance leader and Xiao Yi. Strictly speaking, Ningyu was not absolutely confident that he could take 3 punches from Xiao Yi. The first punch. Xiao Yi clenched his right fist and punched lightly. Ningyu was shocked. On the surface, Xiao Ye's punch looked very ordinary and weak. However, Ningyu knew that the power of Xiao Ye's punch could even kill an ordinary peak essence immortal. Am I going to use the war god's body for the first punch? Ningyu's expression was a little solemn. He gritted his teeth and decided not to use the war god's body for the first move. Instead, he used the 7 essence immortal laws to block it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With a thought, Ningyu used 7 essence immortal nomological laws in an instant and wrapped them around his fist. Bang! In the next moment, Ningyu's fist, which was surrounded by the 7 essence immortal laws, collided with Xiao Ye's seemingly ordinary fist. The two collided. Xiao Yi stood on the spot and did not move, while Ningyu retreated dozens of feet until he was pushed to the edge of the hall. This blow. Chapter 2196. Whoosh. Although Ningyu was at an absolute disadvantage, the fact that he was able to block Xiao Ye's punch and not fall to the ground still caused a huge uproar in the hall. Who was Xiao Yi? He was the #1 peerless existence among all the core disciples. Even an ordinary peak stage essence, immortal, might not be able to block Xiao Ye's punch. In the eyes of the crowd, Ningyu's performance was already amazing enough. Not bad. After the attack, Xiao Yi did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked at Ningyu and said calmly, "Your strength is a little beyond my expectations." Although Xiao Yi looked calm on the surface, that was not the case. In his heart there was already a huge wave of shock. One had to know. His seemingly ordinary punch could kill a peak stage essence immortal. Xiao Yi knew that although he did not use his full strength, Ningyu did not use his full strength either. Take my second punch. Xiao Yi bent his legs slightly and instantly shot out. Swoosh. An afterimage flashed past. In an instant, Xiao Yi appeared in front of Ningyu. God of War body. Looking at Xiao Yi in front of him, Ningyu no longer held back and decided to use the God of War body. Ningyu's strongest move was awakening 100% of the bloodline of the God of War body, not the 7 essence immortal laws. The first move. Ningyu tested Xiao Ye's true combat strength. Therefore, he decided to use the second move to determine the winner with Xiao Yi. I hope you can awaken more bloodline power. Xiao Yi already knew that Ning Yu had the god of war body. The only thing he was unsure of was how much bloodline power Ning Yu had awakened. After all, the difference between 10% bloodline power and 100% bloodline power was like heaven and earth. The immortal energy in his body wrapped around his fist. Xiao Yi did not hold back at all in this punch. Bang! Under the gaze of the crowd, Ning Yu's fist and Xiao Ye's fist collided. The two fists collided and a crisp sound was heard. Swoosh! Swoosh! Then, the two figures retreated rapidly. Each of them took a few steps back before stopping. Hua! After the second move, the crowd in the hall was completely dumbfounded. Why was Ning Yu getting stronger and stronger? In the first exchange, Ning Yu was at a complete disadvantage and almost lost his footing. Who would have thought? In the second exchange, Ning Yu had actually switched from a shotgun to a cannon, and was now evenly matched with Xiao Yi. No one had expected such a situation. Poochie! At this moment, Ning Yu felt a tightness in his chest, and a stream of dark red blood suddenly spurted out from his mouth. I say, so Ning Yu is just holding on. Exactly. How could Ning Yu be a match for Xiao Yi? Hee, look, Ning Yu's blood is black, which means he's badly injured. Everyone discussed spiritedly, feeling that the suffocating anger in their hearts had been alleviated a lot. After all, Xiao Yi was too powerful. If Ning Yu was evenly matched with him, didn't that mean that Ning Yu was also very powerful? They had looked down on Ning Yu previously, and they definitely did not want Ning Yu to be able to contend with Xiao Yi. Ning Yu, in my opinion, you should give up on the third punch. Song Qing immediately came to Ning Yu's side and advised, it's not an injustice to lose to Xiao Yi. There's no need for the third punch. Ning Yu took a deep breath, then turned to look at the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance and cupped his fists. The matter of the quota has been settled. Please open the Water-Moon pool. Hee, at least you know your limit. Xiao Mao chuckled with an arrogant expression. Ha ha, Ning Yu, aren't you showing off? You're still going to lose your quota. He Hui raised his head and laughed wildly, looking even more arrogant than Xiao Mao. All of you, shut up. However, at this moment, Xiao Ye's expression turned cold and he said in a deep voice, He Hui, Xiao Mao, leave the hall immediately. The quota for the Water-Moon pool has nothing to do with you. What? Xiao Mao and He Hui's eyes widened when they heard Xiao Ye's words. Their faces were filled with disbelief. What's going on? Wasn't Ning Yu the one who lost his quota? Why did it become the two of them? Brother, Ning Yu has already admitted his defeat, you. Xiao Mao hurriedly tried to argue. However, Xiao Mao's words came to an abrupt halt. He saw his brother, Xiao Yi, opening his mouth and spurting out a few mouthfuls of blood. Dumbfounded, confused, various emotions appeared on Xiao Mao's face. Ning Yu, you're very strong, very strong. Xiao Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and gave Ning Yu a thumbs up. However, Xiao Yi quickly changed the topic and said, after cultivating in the Water-Moon pool, I'm looking forward to our second fight. Sha. As he spoke, Xiao Yi moved his feet and walked towards the inner hall. Xiao Ye's direction was where the Water-Moon pool was located. Xiao Mao and He Hui were dumbfounded when they saw Xiao Yi leaving. Both of you. At this moment, Jing Jiqiang arrived in front of Xiao Mao and He Hui, pointed outside the hall and said, Don't waste everyone's time. The Alliance leader has said that the Water-Moon pool can only be opened after you leave. Swoosh. In an instant, the remaining core disciples all shifted their gazes towards Xiao Mao and He Hui. Just now, they were still united. Now, they were looking forward to Xiao Mao and He Hui leaving. After all, the earlier they could enter the Water-Moon pool, the earlier they could obtain the benefit. Ning Yu, I'm not done with you. Xiao Mao glared at Ning Yu fiercely and left the hall without looking back. As for He Hui, he obediently followed behind Xiao Mao. Xiao Mao had his brother's support, but He Hui did not have such a strong backing. He could only leave obediently, not daring to say anything harsh. "Let's go, everyone. The water moon pool is ready." When Xiao Mao and He Hui were completely out of the hall, Jing Jiqiang turned and pointed in the direction Xiao Yi had disappeared. "How long you can stay in there will depend on your luck." Whoosh! Apart from Ning Yu and Song Qing, the remaining 6 core disciples fought to be the first to rush into the inner room. "Kid, you scared me." Song Qing thumped Ning Yu's chest. "I didn't expect you to be able to fight Xiao Yi to a draw." "I was just lucky," Ning Yu said with a faint smile. "Don't be careless. Xiao Yi naturally has his reasons for being the face of the Water Moon League," Song Qing reminded. "Xiao Yi still has a move that he hasn't used yet. Once he uses it, he might even be able to fight against a half-step peerless immortal." Gasp! Hearing this, Ning Yu was finally moved. Fight against a half-step peerless immortal? Ning Yu prided himself on his strength, but no matter how strong he was, he could only fight against or kill a peak elemental immortal. Even if he used the full power of his bloodline and 7 elemental immortal laws, there was no way he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal. In fact, he would not even be able to escape from a half-step peerless immortal. The fact that Xiao Yi could fight against a half-step peerless immortal was enough to prove his strength. Don't be discouraged. Chapter 2197. I say, the two of you, can we not talk anymore? Jing Jiqiang rolled his eyes and reminded, there are limited good spots in the Water Moon pool. If you guys are late, all the good spots will be snatched away by others. There are indeed few good spots, but they have to have the ability to snatch them. Song Qing smiled faintly before pulling Ning Yu into the room. As for Jing Jiqiang, he retreated to the entrance of the hall and stood guard there. Not long later, Ning Yu and Song Qing arrived at the room where the Water Moon pool was. "Where's the Alliance leader?" Ning Yu looked at the Water Moon pool and asked curiously, "Why isn't she here? Alliance leader has so many things to do. How can she stand guard here?" Song Qing rolled his eyes at Ning Yu before leaping into the Water Moon pool. Plop! Ning Yu withdrew his consciousness and jumped into the Water Moon pond. So much energy? The moment he leaped into the Water Moon pool, Ning Yu's pupils constricted. The energy in the pool rushed into his body. He didn't even need to control it himself. "If I cultivate here, I'll definitely be able to reach peak ancestor immortal realm in 20 days. Ning Yu was delighted. It seemed like it wasn't a loss for him to get a spot after so much effort. Right now, he was at late-stage ancestor immortal realm. As long as he could reach peak ancestor immortal realm, his strength would increase tremendously. After cultivating for a while, Ning Yu started to observe his surroundings. After a series of observations, Ning Yu discovered a unique phenomenon. The Water Moon pool was circular in shape, and it seemed to be divided into several grades. In the middle of the pool there was a square platform. Among them, Xiao Yi and Song Qing were closest to the square platform. The other 6 core disciples were the same as him, cultivating at the outermost ring. Could the energy within be even denser? Thinking about it, Ning Yu carefully swam towards the square platform. A few steps later, Ning Yu realized something. "I see." Ning Yu had a look of sudden realization. It wasn't that the energy inside was more vigorous, but with each round he took, the speed at which the energy entered his body doubled. If he were to cultivate in the outermost ring, he was confident that he could reach the pinnacle of the ancestor immortal realm in 20 days. But after advancing 1 round, he was confident that he could advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm within 10 days. A little closer. Naturally, Ning Yu would not be satisfied with a second round. He moved forward again. Soon, Ning Yu came to Song Qing's 5th lap. 2 days. Ning Yu was a little excited. In the 5th circle, he only needed 2 days to reach the pinnacle of the ancestral immortal realm. He reached the peak of the ancestral immortal stage in 2 days on the 5th ring. What if he reaches the 6th ring, the 7th ring, or even Xiao Ye's 8th punch? Ning Yu would definitely not be satisfied with the current situation. Xiao Yi was in the 8th circle, while he was in the 5th circle. After some thought, Ning Yu decided to move forward. Gulp. Everyone in the water moon pond, including Song Qing, was stunned when they saw Ning Yu choose to head towards the 6th ring. One had to know, with each round he advanced, not only would the speed at which the energy entered his body increase, even the pressure he faced would increase. In other words, he could last for 20 days in the first round. But in the 5th round, he could only last for a day or even half a day. Not caring about what everyone was thinking, Ning Yu moved forward step by step. Although Ning Yu felt that the pressure had increased a little every time he moved forward, it was completely bearable for him. Compared to the benefits he gained, the pressure was nothing to worry about. This trip is really worth it. When he came to the 7th ring, Ning Yu could not help but feel emotional. Just like that, he continued to advance. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, and he was only half a step away from it. However, when he reached the 7th ring, Ning Yu felt the pressure on his body increase significantly. Thankfully, his strength had increased, otherwise, he would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure of the 7th ring. One more step. Gritting his teeth, Ning Yu lifted his right leg and moved forward once more. Bam! The next moment, a dull sound came from within Ning Yu's body. Bang! Immediately after, a terrifying aura surged into the air. Peak ancestral immortal realm. The moment he stepped into the 8th ring, Ning Yu advanced to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. Phew! Ning Yu let out a long breath. If he did not advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm, he would not be able to stay in the 8th ring. Swash! Right then, Ning Yu sensed that someone was looking at him. He raised his head and saw Xiao Yi turn back with his mouth agape. The pressure in the 8th ring is huge. I advise you not to advance any further. Just cultivate there and you should be able to advance to the essence immortal realm. Lip reading. The immense pressure forced Xiao Yi to be unable to speak, and he could only use lip reading to communicate with Ning Yu. Thanks for the reminder. Ning Yu smiled at Xiao Yi before sinking to the bottom of the water moon pool and cultivating. Ning Yu had yet to stabilize his cultivation level after just entering the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. If Ning Yu were to continue advancing now, he would definitely not agree to it. Ning Yu's thoughts were simple. He would only continue advancing after he stabilized his cultivation level at the peak of the ancestral immortal realm or half-step essence immortal realm. That was because Ning Yu finally understood. The greater the pressure, the greater the rewards. In fact, Ning Yu was already fantasizing about whether he could reach the square platform in the middle of the water moon pool to cultivate. One could only imagine how terrifying the square platform would be if his cultivation speed was so fast at the 8th ring. However, Ning Yu knew his limits. Even Xiao Yi could only stop 3 steps away from the square platform. His strength was comparable to Xiao Ye's, and it should be difficult for him to reach the square platform. I've really picked up a treasure this time. No one knew that in the void above the water moon pool, there was a woman wearing a veil. She was none other than the leader of the Water Moon Alliance. When she saw Ning Yu stop at the 8th ring, her red lips parted slightly, and a smile appeared on her face. With Ning Yu and Xiao Yi here, the Water Moon Alliance should be able to win this brilliant void meeting. Should I help him? The woman thought about it and decided to give up. As for whether Ning Yu could reach the square platform, it was not her place to interfere. That was because Xiao Yi had a high chance of reaching the square platform today as well. If she helped one, it would definitely be unfair to the other. Therefore, she could only let Ning Yu and Xiao Yi compete. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. As time passed, the 6 core disciples at the outer ring of the water-moon pool left one after another. On the 3rd day, a core disciple left. On the 5th day, 2 core disciples left. On the 10th day, including Song Qing, only Ning Yu and Xiao Yi were left among the core disciples in the water-moon pool. No matter what, Xiao Yi and Ning Yu had already made history by staying in the water-moon pool for 10 days in the 8th ring. Ever since the water-moon pool was built, they were the only two to enter the 8th ring. Look, Ning Yu and Xiao Yi are moving. Chapter 2198. Swoosh. The rest of the core disciples were shocked when they heard the martial artist's words. Although they were forced to leave the water-moon pool, they had been staying by the pool to consolidate their cultivation. Now that they saw Ning Yu and Xiao Yi moving, they immediately shifted their gazes over. Both Ning Yu and Xiao Yi were in the 8th circle of the water-moon pool, not too far away from the square platform in the middle. This was especially true for Xiao Yi, who was only 3 steps away from the square platform. Previously, they had been expecting Xiao Yi to rush towards the square platform, but he would always stop when he was 3 steps away from the square platform. Today, Xiao Yi was going to rush towards the square platform. How could they not be excited? However, when Li Tongtian also rushed towards the square platform, they could not help but twitch their mouths. A look of disdain appeared on their faces. Has Ning Yu lost his mind? Although he has advanced to the half-step elemental immortal realm, it is impossible for him to reach the square platform with his cultivation. In my opinion, Ning Yu saw Xiao Yi moving, so he is not willing to fall behind. Humph, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? He wants to compete with Xiao Yi. Don't say that, after all, Ning Yu defeated Xiao Mao and is evenly matched with Xiao Yi. This time, almost all the core disciples were not optimistic about Ning Yu. Of course, Song Qing's opinion was a little different from the rest. Ever since Ning Yu passed by him, he had been paying attention to Ning Yu's state. He was surprised to find that even in the 8th circle, Ning Yu still looked calm. Even now, he was still very calm when he started to rush towards the square platform. In fact, in just a few hours, Ning Yu had shortened the distance between him and Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took a step forward, but Ning Yu took a few steps forward. Now, there were only 5 steps between Ning Yu and Xiao Yi. Come on! Song Qing clenched his fists, secretly cheering for Ning Yu. The closer they got to the square platform, the greater the pressure. At first, it only took Ning Yu a few hours to advance a few steps. But after that, every step he took would take several hours or even a day's worth of time. Drip. 1 day passed. Xiao Yi stood there without moving, while Ning Yu took a step forward. Now, there were only 4 steps between Ning Yu and Xiao Yi. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. Xiao Yi was still standing in the same place, not moving, but Ning Yu took another step forward. At this moment, there were only 3 steps between Ning Yu and Xiao Yi. At this moment, the surrounding core disciples panicked. 2 days ago, they were still ridiculing Ning Yu, but now, Ning Yu was getting closer and closer to Xiao Yi. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ning Yu caught up to Xiao Yi. Could it be would Ning Yu really reach the square platform before Xiao Yi? Beside the water-moon pond, the faces of the 6 core disciples were gloomy. They were secretly praying in their hearts, praying that Ning Yu would not be able to hold on and be defeated. However, things always turned out differently from what they imagined. Voila! On the 4th day, Ning Yu moved his feet and suddenly took 3 steps forward. Obviously, Ning Yu had reached the same starting line as Xiao Yi. Swish! Xiao Yi, whose face was as calm as an ancient well, was finally moved. He knew that Ning Yu was very strong. However, he had never thought that Ning Yu could be this strong. Again, Xiao Yi shouted in his heart. He lifted his right foot and took another step forward, bringing the distance between him and Ning Yu to another step. When the core disciples saw Xiao Yi taking a step forward, they all revealed expressions of relief. To be honest, when Ning Yu and Xiao Yi reached the same starting line, they were more nervous than anyone else. Now that Xiao Yi was one step ahead, the stone in their hearts was once again lifted. However, Ning Yu did not hesitate. When he saw Xiao Yi moving forward, he immediately lifted his right foot and took a step forward. Gasp! Seeing Ning Yu's actions, all the core disciples sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Was he still human? It seemed that Ning Yu still had some strength left. As for Xiao Yi, beads of sweat had appeared on his forehead. Damn it! He turned his head to look at Ning Yu and cursed in his heart. There was only one square platform. Since Ning Yu had sat on it, he could only wait for the next time. Ah! Xiao Yi gritted his teeth and let out a roar, then he moved forward with all his might. Rumble! In order to reach the square platform, Xiao Yi did not hesitate to use his trump card, exposing his true strength to everyone's senses. What? Sensing the aura from Xiao Ye's body, Ning Yu's pupils constricted. Song Qing was right. Xiao Ye's full strength was comparable to a half-step peerless immortal. Although he had ascended to the level of a half-step virtual immortal, he had less than a 30% chance of winning against Xiao Yi. Still a little lacking. In the air, the leader of the Water Moon Alliance shook her head slightly. She had high hopes for Xiao Yi to become a peerless immortal. Even if Xiao Yi was comparable to an ordinary half-step peerless immortal, she was still not satisfied. Swoosh! After forcing out Xiao Ye's true strength, the leader of the Water Moon Alliance left immediately. She did not stay for another 15 minutes. She knew very well, even if Xiao Yi used all his strength, he would not be able to reach the square platform. Since Xiao Yi could not reach the square platform, Ning Yu naturally could not. Therefore, there was no point for her to stay. Reality proved that the leader of the Water Moon Alliance's judgment was correct. Xiao Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. The terrifying aura that had just erupted from Xiao Yi dropped to the freezing point. I can't accept this. Xiao Yi raised his head and shouted, his face full of indignation. After giving Ning Yu a long look, Xiao Yi had no choice but to retreat. Despite his indignation, Xiao Yi knew that he had to retreat. If he stayed even a second longer, only death awaited him. Bam! Even after retreating from the square platform, Xiao Yi did not leave the Water Moon pool. He stopped at the sixth circle of the Water Moon pond and slowly moved forward. His failure to reach the square platform had affected Xiao Yi to a certain extent, but not too much. Given time, he could still reach the eighth circle and make a second attempt at the square platform. However, Xiao Yi knew he had no chance. The Water Moon pool only opened once in a very long time, and every time it opened, it consumed a large number of energy crystals. Who knew how long it would be before the Water Moon pond could be opened again? I wonder if you can reach the square platform. Xiao Yi took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Ning Yu. Generally speaking, Ning Yu's chances of success should be very low if even he had failed. But for some reason, he felt that Ning Yu was not as simple as he seemed. In his opinion, Ning Yu had a 30% chance of reaching the square platform. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.